Welcome to 2024. Happy New Year, everybody. Call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Town Council, Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. Please stand for the pledge.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Erickson, will you take roll, please?
Councilmember Chronic,
Here.
Councilmember Romanello,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Here.
Councilmember Abbott. Here. Councilmember Fiorito,
Here.
Mayor LaKind,
Here?
Councilmember Kimple.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, before us, we have an agenda and a consent agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Mayor, we've got a adjustment that we need to make. Bob needs to read you.
Okay,
So we didn't get on the agenda this time around the declaration of the conflicts of interest. So if any council members have a conflict of interest in any matter that's before the council, we'd like you to make that declaration now.
so we're gonna
Take a vote to modify.
yeah, we're gonna modify, you wanna, yeah, we're gonna modify first.
There you go.
So the first modification is to add a section for conflicts of interest. Are there any other modifications to the agenda?
Are we modifying that order of the,
Yes. Yeah,
Are you talking about 5D?
Yes, and I.
of the NI? Right, okay, so we have the modification to add the conflict of interest clause, and then we need a modification for 5D I for the executive session to be before the resolution number 04-2024.
okay.
I move to approve the agenda as modified. Oh, sorry. New Year, man.
I know. Okay. So seeing that there are no other modifications, do I hear a motion to approve the modified agenda?
Still moved.
Second.
Second,
We have a motion and a second for the modified agenda. Ms. Erickson.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second on the consent agenda.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic.
Yes.
All right, those motions pass 7-0. I was looking forward to going through every page of the accent body cam, but we will avoid that like the plague. I'm going to. Next up is a conflict of interest. Is there anybody who on the council has a conflict of interest with tonight's? No. Mr. Cole, there are no conflicts of interest.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have presentations. We have Employee of the Year Award, and I'm confused. Is it 2 awards?
2 awards.
So are you getting an award?
No, I'm giving the town manager award.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Mr. Foreman.
Employee of the year Spurs. What's cheap? I'm not getting the award. You're not getting the award?
Now I know why there's a heavy police presence tonight. I thought there was something controversial that was going on I didn't know about. Can you can you tilt the mic so it's facing you guys so people can hear?
That's yours. That's your.
Wait. Who's on first?
So I'm not it. No, come up here. Man, this guy has been working his butt off this year. He has done an amazing job of training and he went from being, are you still a detective? Kind of part-time and doing a lot. I know Chief Reagan could say a lot more about you, but you've done an amazing job. He actually took me out and had me out there shooting and trained me a little bit, showed me what I was doing wrong, and I appreciate that. We really appreciate you being here. Really appreciate everything. Is your family here? Come on up, guys. Come on up. So really great job this year. But he's part of the change. The chiefs helped bring change to the town of Monument. You're part of that change and you've done an amazing job this year, leading all of our officers and everybody like that, training them. Just some of the skills that you have are amazing. So I can't say enough about you. I really appreciate everything you've done. Appreciate the friendship we've had for over the years. And so just great job this year. The town of Monument, employee of the year. Good job.
Don't leave just yet.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to steal the boss's thunder since it is his award, but it is my employee, so now I'll steal the thunder at the end. Raise your hand if Josh Marks has positively influenced your life last year. Yeah, everybody in the police department. It's not very often that as a chief you can come in and learn leadership lessons from your people, but I do every day from Josh. He's a great guy. He's a great leader. Teaches me a lot, keeps me in check. I appreciate it. The things you do for this police department in this town are just remarkable. There's a lot of things we can talk about. I mean, I think you've even trained our council on certain things too. So everybody knows Josh. He's a great guy. I think hopefully it was an easy decision for the boss. But like I said, not my award. This is the town award. He's the employee of the year for the entire
Yeah,
town. So
this award's actually picked by all the directors. So all the directors had meetings and they put in, who they thought would be the employee of the year. And all of them unanimously chose Josh. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, thank you, Josh. Go and get a couple photos.
Yeah, come up here.
You get at least town manager parking space for the year.
Yeah, there you go.
Want to take a photo?
Right next to it.
Take a photo.
For a week.
Yeah.
Act like we like each other.
Yeah.
Y'all can stay in it. Major award.
Good job. All right, and then the Town Manager's Award. This was Employee of the Year. Town Manager Award we give out every year to somebody that's exemplary, that's changed a lot of programs, looked at our town and audited our town and said, what can we do to improve? This person improved our water billing, our emergency management. I could name about 10 different things. I know we got a long meeting. I don't want to do all that, but she's really come in and improved every department that we have. She works with every department through our HR department. She also works with the police department, with public works, everybody like that. Erica, come up here, bring your family up here. Erica Romero is our Town Manager Award winner this year. Congratulations. I told Erica,
do have a family.
Laura Hogan couldn't be here. She's out skating. I think she's online actually, but I stole a couple of employees from Laura Hogan. She made 2 people deputy town clerk. One of them was Madeline and stole her. Now she's a director. And then the other one was Erica. And she's become one of our greatest directors this year. How much money, I want to get to this one because water billing, we talked about this today. How much have we saved over the last couple of years since you've taken over water billing?
Well, I don't want to cite an exact number because Mona's busy filming over there. We revamped our water utility billing process, and I couldn't have done it without the support of my other colleagues like Tom, but our bulk water is just one that we've improved. We started selling some bulk water, and I think we're at 160,000 and we budgeted like 50,000 for it.
Right.
So that's just a
Just one of the things, but
piece. But we've
well-
been able to provide more opportunity to our citizens. Here, I'm taking over for Mike. That's what he pays me to do.
Yep.
I couldn't do what I do without the support of the town council, so I want to thank the council, Mike's support and my colleagues' support. The water utility billing is just one little thing. Mike has supported me. My kids are making fun of me because they're like, "You're nervous." I'm usually not nervous. During COVID, I was given the opportunity to learn emergency management, and now I'm able to work with Chief Reagan on that piece. I've learned a lot. We've been able to improve that a lot. I look to make more improvements on behalf of the town. The flexibility to have that professional freedom and do a lot for the town. My family's vested in Monument. My husband's a teacher here at Palmer Ridge, and we invest in the community we live in. So it's just, it's a great opportunity, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody's support.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Okay. Congratulations to those award winners. Town wouldn't be what it is without those folks. Next up, Madeline, you've got an Art Sites program, Art Sites Committee presentation. Before we go on with that, can we do something about the screen? We're not getting full screen on the presentation. Oh, now we are. Okay, changed it. Great, thank you.
Presto.
Perfect.
Click of a button.
Presto change it.
All right, well, we'll get started. Good evening, council and mayor. Thank you for allowing me to provide an update on our public art program. Our Art Sites program was taken into the town in 2023, last year. It was previously managed by Trail Lakes Views, which was a nonprofit, a community nonprofit that managed this program. But Art Sites is our public art program, and it's a program that manages our outside sculpture program with that in several sites around the town. The program manager for this program is Cassie Olgren, who just stood up. Other committee members are Councilman Fiorito serves on this committee, as well as town staff and other community members, some of which were formerly of the Tri Lakes Views Committee. We are working on supplementing our budget so that we can increase this program. So we're looking to provide some fundraising events, and then we also offer sponsorships for this program as well. We have several rotating sculpture exhibits that are all located mostly in public spaces. And then we also have this program as part of our memorial program, so people can opt to dedicate a sculpture or a mural in honor of a loved one if they would like to in the community. Currently, the program has 25 sites. 14 of those rotate. So every June, we rotate those. We do a call for artists. And in June, we rotate some of the sculptures, meaning that they're on loan to the town for approximately a year. And we have 6 permanent sculpture sites around town and then 5 murals. And you can take a self-guided tour through the AutoCast app. And there's a QR code, or we have this information on our website too, but it's an app that tells you about the sculpture, about the artist, and sometimes a little advertisement from a business that might be close by that kind of helps fund that app for us. In 2023, we were able to add 3 new pedestals with the sidewalks that were installed along Beacon Light Road near Lavalette Park. So these are the 3 new sculptures that we added in 2023. Tri-Lakes Views, that used to formerly manage this program, has been working with the school district, Lewis Palmer School District 38, to dedicate the sculpture park, which is the green grass area in front of the district admin building, in honor of Dr. Betty Konarski, who was one of the original members that founded the Art Sites program. So hopefully this year, sometime they'll have a sign installed at the front of that sculpture park. For 2024, we were able to increase our budget by about $5,000, allowing us to increase our stipends that we pay to the artists for showing their work. So we are hoping that that makes us a little bit more competitive with Palmer Lake, who is offering a bigger stipend, as well as Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs, who offer bigger stipends to the artists that participate in their public art programs. So we were able to increase that, and hopefully with our fundraising efforts, we'll be able to get in bigger art pieces into our sculpture pedestals this year. Some ways that the community can get involved: we will have several events through Art Sites, through the Arts Month, which is operated by the Pikes Peak Office of Culture and Arts. We have the artist reception once we install all of the new pieces in June. We are looking for additional committees to work, our committee members to work on our Art Sites committee. And we also have opportunities for sponsors to sponsor our program as well. That's kind of an update on our Art Sites program. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you very much for that. Is there any comments or questions from anybody on the council? Do we need to assign someone every year for this position, this committee?
That would be completely up to council, if they wanted to rotate that every year.
Because you brought this up, it made me think that we need to reappoint everybody, and you had mentioned Councilmember Fiorito. Do you want to continue doing this?
I had a blast. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I would like to continue if there's no one else on the council that doesn't object or wanted to do it themselves.
You're good. Okay. So cool. I just made a note to deal with that later on, but there you go. You get Marco for another year. If he gives you any problems, let us know. Thank you, Madeline. Okay, here we go. Fun stuff. First up is ordinance 25/2023, an ordinance establishing the Council District Advisory Commission. Mr. Cole.
So this matters before you. December 4th meeting. You directed that we take it back, make a few changes. We've made those. The changes delete the planning director as a commission member, make her person in that position to support staff for the commission. Adds 2 members of the public to the commission. It requires all commissioners to be town residents, regardless of how they're appointed, and increases the commission to 7. So town manager, 2 members of council, 2 members of planning commission, 2 members of the public. If you're ready to move forward with that tonight in your motion, you need to designate the individuals to fill those positions. And got in your packet some letters of interest.
Okay. So the first thing we would need to do is determine that we have 2 letters of interest from the Planning Commission already. We need to establish who from the town council will be participating. I believe we have for sure one person that submitted their paperwork on time from Citizen. 3 more?
3 more that showed up tonight.
3 more that showed up tonight. Okay, we'll get to those in a second. Mr. Foreman, are you going to be representing in your official capacity as town manager, the position?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Then let's figure out on the council who is going to be representing on the council. I would prefer if we could do it, because we sort of have an even split, somebody from each district. We've got the District 1, which encompasses all of west side of 25, along with Village Center. And then District 2 is basically everywhere else on the east side.
And this is the districts as they're laid out in the home rule charter prior to what happens here.
Correct.
Just a clarification.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'm happy to throw my hat in the ring.
Okay, so we've got one person.
And same here. I'm happy to throw my hat in the ring for District 2.
District 2. Is there any objections to Councilmember King and Fiorito representing the town council on the committee?
No objections here.
Okay, all right, so will you fill in those 2 positions there, Tina? Okay, what page are the 3?
118, is some of the resumes. Oh, my. Oh, I'm looking at planning commission.
The letters?
Yeah,
I'm looking at planning.
Letters were on our desk today.
they're all, okay. Give us 1 second. I see one.
And then there's one in the packet
One in the
from Brandy Turner.
Letters of, oh, here, oh, okay. Mine was hidden in the, all right, thank you. So, Shay Mendelcott, are they here?
See Shay.
Okay, we have Joel Lusby. I see him. Hard to miss.
Yes.
Ray Egley. Ray, you're on the planning commission, right? So Danny Hours and Ray Egley are planning commission representatives, the 2. And so that leaves Shay, Daniel, Debu. Is Daniel here? Ah. Okay, and who was the other person?
Brandy.
Randy. So is there anybody who lives in District 2?
And I know where District 2 is.
Yeah, where, so Shay's not here. Does anybody know where Shay lives? All right. So for the public's knowledge, the goal is to get representation from the 2 districts. So it looks like we probably have more people for District 1 than we need.
And
Well, but-
Mr. Mayor, I did try to drum up interest from District 2, and I got no bites,
I tried to drum up interest as well.
which is
And-
disappointing and surprising at the same time.
Well, but Danny Hours lives in District 2, correct? You're in Jackson Creek, right? Promontory? Okay.
Promontory.
So District 2, and then Ray, where are you at? You're over there? So, yeah, there you go.
That's fine. So we just need to pick somebody from District 1 now, because, well, we still need 2 people.
Right, but I'm saying we have 2 planning commissioners
They're
from
right.
District 2.
But they're representing the planning commission positions.
I understand,
We need 2
but they're still
citizens.
from District 2.
So you're gonna,
Well, if that's the best we can do, that's the best we
Okay.
can do.
okay, so we have 2 positions left that need to be filled, and we've got, so Shay's not here, but Daniel and Randy are.
And Joel's here.
Oh, and Joel. So, sorry, I keep forgetting about Joel.
Brandy's put hers, she had hers in time on the website. There was a cutoff date, but we didn't have anybody else, so we reached out.
All right, well, so does anybody have any questions for the candidates that are here? So you have Daniel, Joel, and Brandy. If so, we can have them come up, and in fact, why don't we just have them come up and tell us about,
Yeah, introduce yourself.
introduce yourself and
I say a word,
can you what?
say a word.
Yes, of course. That's why we wanted you
I would
to.
like to withdraw in favor of Mr. DeBoo at this time. Does that still keep
Okay.
us
Take
with plenty of choices?
Joel's
district-
resume and throw it on Indeed.
Our district is huge.
That actually calls into question Mr. DeBoo. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you, Councilman and women. I've been here for 4 years, so kind of a youngster. But I decided to throw my hat in the ring because I've had a lot of governmental non-for-profit experience. The resume you have before you, the backside is really the important part. I've had about 10 to 12 years of non-for-profit experience raising funds for fighting domestic violence and child abuse. We did that through an organization called the Exchange Club, which had RibFest. And we did that. Worked on that for about 12 years. But in the process of funding that, we had to work with governmental organizations, the school district, the park district, the several different governmental bodies. So I know how those organizations kind of work. And that's why I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring to say, hey, if you need some help, I'm here, and be glad to participate and learn more about the districting of Monument and interact with different members of the community. So if you have any questions about any of that, let me know.
Any questions? Councilmember Kimball, didn't you have a question?
I have a question. All the candidates that are here is, what is your primary interest in holding this position?
Primary interest is doing what the commission needs me to do. And if that's getting out and talking to people and figuring out how we set up this redistricting now that we have a home charter, well, then that's what I need to do. I'm available full-time being retired. And frankly, I need something to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do like the honesty.
I have a question. How do you enjoy being the board president for Village Center Estates? Okay, that's honest. I like it.
Good evening, Council. I'm Brandy Turner. To answer Councilmember Kemple's question, being one of the original commissioners for the Home Rule Charter, I thought it was so important, number one, that we had the districting, number two, that we put the rule in place that it needed to be looked at periodically. And I figured if I was one of the people who required that to happen, then I needed to be one of the people to step forward to make that happen. So that's why I'm interested in doing it.
We've been testing this since it went into effect.
Yes,
Have
we
we
have.
not?
We have, certainly. It'll be a challenge as we go through, but it'll be amazing for our community.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, given that we have two people that showed up, welcome to the committee.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
I guess the next step would be, well, we'll pass the, oh, it's a public hearing item. So before we go anywhere with that, since this is a public hearing item, is there anybody that is in the room that would like to speak for or against the redistricting ordinance? Okay, seeing none, is there anybody online that would like to speak for or against the redistricting ordinance? Okay, we'll bring it back to the council for discussion. Before we do that, so I guess the next step, once this passes, right? Who will be setting Mr. Cole, will you be setting the meetings with the members of this committee and or working with them to establish what days that will happen and because it's a public meeting, right?
Yes.
So who will be
Open
running the
meetings.
meeting and
So I'll work with the manager's office and we'll coordinate schedules. We'll have to work quickly. And yes, we would anticipate electing a chair, probably a vice chair, a secretary, someone appoint somebody to take minutes, follow all those rules, and then we got to take off running fast and get this work done.
okay.
Real quick, can we, for the record, give the names of the people and who they're representing, just to kind of close the circle?
Sure. Ms. Erickson, you've been taking notes. Can you have all the names that have been identified and we can determine their representation? I'm pretty sure we figured it out already, though. That's okay. Yeah, and if they're planning commission, town council, citizen,
So Marco Fiorito, Town Council, Steve King, Town Council, Danny Hours, Planning Commission, Ray Eagley, Planning Commission. And then we have Brandy Turner, Citizen, and she was with the Home Rule Charter. Daniel Debu, Citizen.
and then Mike Foreman.
And Mike Foreman.
Okay. Any other, that's all 7. Any other questions or comments? If not, I will look for a motion. Oh. Mr. Cole can.
You bet. So this mission would begin immediately, and it's got to complete its work by May 9th. We actually have to have council, if there's going to be changes to these districts to be applicable to the November council election, they have to be completed by May 9th. And I'm not presuming there are changes that have to be made. The commission is tended to look at the current districts, see if they measure up to legal standards. If they don't and they need modification, then recommend modifications back to the council, who would have to approve them as an ordinance. So that has to be done by May 9th. The commission expires if its work isn't done or if it is done on May 9th.
Now, the May 9th, we obviously have to vote, but we're going to see their recommendations before,
So
probably in April.
yes, so the ordinance calls for following the schedule that was set out in my memo to you of the specified date. I find it here, and that built in some flexibility, but with the intent of having 2 opportunities to discuss it before council, and if necessary, 2 meetings to consider the ordinance.
Excellent. Okay. Everybody understands what's going on as far as the timing goes? Okay.
So mostly to get a run on this, we need the probably, I guess, the planning department or whoever to start gathering population data. That's the real reason for balancing this. So
Yeah, we have an employee that's in GIS and she'll be working with us on this.
great.
She'll be working with me on that.
And Steve Schleicher,
Definitely.
our clerk and recorder.
Yeah, our intent is to do some staff work, so at the first meeting, we can present information and get this mission working fast.
Okay. If there's no other comments that need to be made about this or questions, then I will look for a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 25-2023, establishing the Council District Advisory Commission.
A second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Erickson?
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes 7-0. Thank you, everybody, for volunteering to assist with this. Next up, ordinance number 01-2024, an ordinance adopting Chapter 2.60 of the Monument Municipal Code regarding standards of conduct. Mr. Cole, you were up all sorts of times tonight.
This again comes out of your home rule charter requirement that the council adopt standards of conduct for the town council. What's before you is a ordinance that would incorporate into your municipal code standards of conduct that would apply to not only the town council, but appointed boards and commissions, such as the commission you just created, and also all employees. So the standards of conduct apply to all of those. In terms of enforcement, the town council, acting as the ethics board, would enforce the standards of conduct with the elected officials and the appointed boards and commissions. The town manager, who by charter is designated to run and manage the town and its employees, is tasked with enforcing those standards with town employees. So the process that's set forth in this ordinance is for enforcement is the process that has to be followed by the ethics board, again, with the elected officials and the appointed officials. Town manager has to enforce the same standards, but how he does that, the exact process, is left up to him, with this ordinance requiring that it be consistent with the process that is set out for the ethics board. So it doesn't have to be the same, but it has to basically afford the same kinds of process rights for someone that might be scrutinized for a proposed ethics violation.
Okay. The public has had a chance, if they've been following along, this has been posted, the entire ethics guidelines manual, if you will. Anybody on the council have any comments or questions for Mr. Cole?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I read through it. Was very well prepared. So I want to commend you for that. It was a lot more detailed than I thought. Well, and of course, Ms. Chronic here,
Yes.
who, yeah, did more than help for sure.
Hated the detail.
Right. So I want to give credit where credit is due for sure. It was a lot more detailed than I anticipated. But I'm glad it is, because there was a lot of things I didn't even think about. So kudos to both of you.
Like all the lunches? Okay, this is a public hearing item. We will open it up for comments from anybody who's here for or against this ordinance of implementing what the charter mandates we implement, which is the standards of conduct. Is there anybody here who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Anybody online?
See none of this time.
Okay, we'll bring it back for further discussion. I too want to, though, add my thanks and appreciation for Councilmember Chronic for spearheading the big majority of the work that was done. And thank you, Mr. Cole, for you and your staff to make sure it looked completely legal and above board. All right, then I'll look for a motion if there's no other questions or comments.
I'll make the motion that we approve, let's see, 25, oh, I'm sorry, 01-2024, ordinance adopting chapter 2.60 of the Monument Municipal Code regarding standards of conduct.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson?
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Mayor LaKine,
Yes,
Councilmember Kimple.
Yes.
Thank you.
that ordinance passes 7-0. That is one thing off the plate of the instructions that the charter has mandated us to do. That is awesome.
And a big one.
2,000 more.
Thank you. Thank you again, Laura. There was a lot of work, I know.
Okay, next up, ordinance 02-2024, an ordinance adopting chapter 5.7 of the Monument Municipal Code regarding the granting of utility franchises. I have a feeling, well, I've already read it, but this is so that we don't have to read utility franchises twice. Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Entirely.
So this is,
So heartbroken.
Is that enough?
this is a good example of the goodness of your charter. Your charter allows you to adopt ordinances that are on local and municipal matters that conflict with state statutes. So you get to do it your way. And adopting a franchise ordinance is very definitely a matter of local and municipal control. And as you've had to bear witness to, the statute requires that franchise ordinances be read in full twice to be adopted. Your charter requires ordinances to be adopted by one reading that can be either in full or by title. And so this incorporates that requirement for franchise ordinances and overrules the statute. And it sets out some other requirements for the franchise ordinance process for applicants. It puts the burden, the financial burden of considering those and evaluating them on the applicants and provides an enforcement mechanism. So it goes a little bit further than just the reading portion of how the ordinance is adopted, but be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council? Okay, this is an public hearing item. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against us reading 30-page utility agreements twice in full? Feel free to speak up now. If not, anybody online? Okay, then if there's no other questions or comments from the council, I will look for a motion.
I would gladly move to approve ordinance number 02-2024, an ordinance adopting chapter 5.70 of the Monument Municipal Code regarding the granting of utility franchises.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Mayor LaKine,
Yes,
Councilmember Chronic.
Yes.
Thank you.
the motion passes 7-0, and that is us now flexing our home rule muscle, right?
Yes.
Sorry, we didn't get this passed 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's on you. It's on you.
Took out the discussion of having ordinance.
Right.
I still have nightmares about page 5.
Ordinance number 03-2024, an ordinance approving a major PUD amendment number 1 for Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final PUD site plan. Mr. Lilligren.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff will be reading from the memorandum and the PC or the TC packet this evening. So this is regarding the Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final PUD major amendment number 1. Background: the Willow Springs Ranch development has been processed for a number of entitlements through the town of Monument. There is a list of previous cases and actions for the council's reference. The sketch PD plan for Willow Springs Ranch was approved in 2008, ordinance 05-2008. Willow Springs Ranch annexation number 1 and number 2 approved in 2019, recorded also in 2019. Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final PD site plan approved in 2020, recorded also in 2020. Willow Springs Ranch filing number 1 approved 8/26/2021 and recorded in 8/27/2021. The discussion: The recorded Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final PD site plan shows a 20-foot utility easement for the MVA depicted within the lots located along the north side of Alpine Sorrel Drive, encumbering the lots with a utility easement. The overall lot sizes included the area of the easement with each lot. All the lots met the development standards for the R4 designation with a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. When the Willow Springs Ranch filing number 1 subdivision plat was recorded, the lots encumbered by the MVA easement were drawn differently than the recorded PD site plan, reducing the lot sizes of the encumbered lots each by 20 feet in depth, so that the MVA utility easement was placed in common area. Several, or 8, of those lots were reduced below the R4 minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. This change occurred due to MVA's needing the easements not to be located within the individually owned lots. Options to rectify the discrepancy between the approved plat and the PD site plan was to revise one or the other. Due to MVA's necessity for the easement to be placed in common area, it was determined the PD site plan should be amended to show the change of lot size for the 8 specific lots along Alpine Sorrel Drive and update the R4 minimum lot size to 4,200 square feet. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the condition that the language be added to the cover sheet indicating that the change in the R4 development standard to 4,200 square feet only applies to the 8 affected parcels along Alpine Sorrel Drive. There's no fiscal impact change. Staff's finding is that all criteria is met to approve the ordinance number 03/2024, an ordinance approving a major PUD amendment number 1 for Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final site plan. Moving to the staff report, give you a little bit of more knowledge. Actually, staff's going to move directly to the criteria that was reviewed for the final PD plan. This is 1803-460 final PD plan. The analysis by the staff for compliance with the review criteria for a final PD plan. D, criteria for review. The final PD must adequately address the following criteria in a manner consistent with public health, safety, and welfare. The final PD conforms to or is consistent with the preliminary PD. Staff's finding proposed PD amendment conforms to the preliminary PUD with the exception of the amendment as proposed. Item 2, circulation is designed for the type of traffic generated, safety separation from living areas, convenience, access, handicap access, noise, and exhaust control through generally discouraged private internal streets may be considered where appropriate to the development. A proper institutional framework such as a metropolitan or special district must be established for the maintenance thereof for the life of any private street. All streets shall be accessible by police and fire department and other emergency vehicles for emergency purposes, and to service vehicles such as trash trucks. Bicycle pedestrian circulation and connections shall be provided. Staff's finding the proposed PD amendment does not change the circulation of the site. Item 3, functional parks, open space, and trails in terms of recreation, views, density, relief, convenience, function, connectivity, and optimum preservation of natural features, including trees, shrubs, wildlife habitat, scenic areas, and riparian and drainage areas, are provided in conformance with the comprehensive plan, the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan, and the Development Standards, Chapters 1805 of this title. Staff's finding the proposed PD amendment does not result in any changes to the functional parks, open space, or the trails. Item 4, variety of development and housing types and styles and densities are proposed. Mixed land use is encouraged. Staff's finding proposed PD amendment does not change the variety of development, housing types and styles, or the densities proposed. Item 5, privacy for individual families and neighbors is provided as appropriate. Staff's finding is that the proposed PUD amendment does not change the privacy for individuals, families, or the neighbors. Item 6, building design in terms of orientation, spacing, materials, exterior color and texture, storage and lighting result in a quality architectural design which is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. The placement of identical or similar residential models on any 2 adjoining lots along a street is discouraged. Staff's finding is the proposed PUD amendment does not change any elements of the building design. Item 7, the landscaping is a quality design that enhances the site and is incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood as shown by the amount, types, and materials used. Entrance features are encouraged. Proposed landscaping must not create maintenance problems and shall be suitable for the site and neighborhood, including plant hardiness. A xeriscape design that will conserve water is required. Staff's finding proposed PUD amendment, it does not change any elements of the landscape design. 8, adequate off-street parking will be provided. Subsection A, particularly for single-family residents in a PUD, required front yard setbacks should be established and driveways should be arranged so as to provide off-street parking therein throughout, causing parked outlets to block sidewalks. Staff's finding was that the proposed PUD amendment does not change the off-street parking for single-family residents. Item B of section 8. The town may increase or decrease the normally required number of off-street parking spaces based on consideration of the following factors. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, staff's finding was the proposed PUD amendment modifications do not justify need to revise any off-street parking spaces. In 2, staff's finding was proposed PUD amendment modification does not suggest a change in the probable number of vehicles owned by the residents. 3 and 4 are not applicable, nor is 5. Item 9, the final PUD has been shown to fit within the context of the planned use pattern and roadway and utility systems of the larger surrounding areas. Staff's finding this proposed PUD amendment does not change the land use pattern and or the roadway and utility systems of the larger surrounding area. Upon review, the final PUD review criteria of section 1803-460 final PUD plan, staff finds this proposed PUD amendment is adequately addresses the review criteria. There is a recommended motion. There are alternative motions for approval with conditions. You can deny, or it can be a continuance. For your reference, here are the exhibits to help us explain more clearly what was being discussed. Exhibit A was the existing Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final PD site plan that we are looking to amend. The 8 lots that we're referring to are these right here. This coming through is the MVA easement that goes through those lots. Exhibit B is the Willow Springs Ranch filing number 1, which was recorded in 2021. In that recording of the final plat, you could see that the lots were changed in size and minimized, and that the MVA easement is now in common space. To rectify the problem, this is the suggested revision in the clouded area for the PD, which is a part of this PD major amendment request. This concludes staff's review. We do have the applicant here to present as well if they'd like to.
The applicant have a presentation ready? Okay.
Putting your load up.
Who's loading it?
We're still loading. My apologies for the delay.
Okay.
Good evening, Town Council. My name is Blaine Perkins. I'm a project manager for NES Inc. And I'm here on behalf of DR Hortons for the Willow Springs Ranch prelim final PUD plan major amendment. Next slide, please. Here's a site location map of all of Willow Springs Ranch, the subdivision in its entirety. We are west of the Baptist Road and I-25 interchange, just north of Forest Lakes Drive and the Forest Lakes subdivision. And then in the top right and kind of the green blow up area, more specifically within the overall subdivision, these are the 8 lots that Jeff had mentioned, or town staff had mentioned, for the major amendment presented to you tonight. Next slide. Here's a depiction of the approved prelim final PD plan for Willow Springs Ranch. As you can see, it's just a little over 218 acres in size, consisting of 399 lots approved over 8 phases of development. As town staff had already pointed out, the main topic here and what I wanted to introduce is the 20-foot MVA easement that we'll be discussing this evening. This plan was approved and recorded in 2020. Next slide. Here is just a little bit clearer picture of that approved prelim final PD plan for Willow Springs Ranch. As you can see, the highlighted red area is that 20-foot MVA easement that encumbers a portion of the northern boundary of this site. And you can see as it goes from east to west, it does encumber more than just the 8 lots. And then I'll kind of get into why just the 8 lots were affected by MVA a little bit later. Next slide. After the approval and recordation of the prelim final PD site plan from town staff and recorded at the clerk's office, we then moved forward with the final plat application. This is the approved final plat. Again, noted in red is the 20-foot MVA easement that was encumbering the along the northern boundary of the site. West of Willow Ranch Road, which is that north-south bounding street through the middle of the site, you can see the easement was removed. At the time of this final plat in the application is when further discussions were taking place with MVA on the relocation and redesign of their infrastructure within this community. It was decided west of Willow Ranch Road, they actually did not have any existing infrastructure or utilities in that area. And so therefore this instrument was, they were able to vacate that portion of the easement with this final plat application. And then as town staff did mention, once we started looking at the east side, it was deemed unnecessary to relocate or revise any of the existing infrastructure within the easement. So the lots were then adjusted so that it was within common open space. Next slide. Here's a snippet from the prelim final PUD major amendment application that we have submitted. This is just a blow up area of that same portion of the site. As you can see, lots 280 from the west going to the east to 273 were adjusted to match the final plat, removing the easement from the back of the lots and putting it into common open space area. With this change, we did gain an additional open space identified in tract L of that approved final plat. After I looked at it with this application, I want to say roughly between 3,000 to 4,000 square feet of open space was gained in this area. Additionally, with the open space gain, we also did get a little bit more buffer width from the back of these lots to the other outside non-residential uses adjacent to the property to the north and the northeast. We're looking at about 40 feet, 45 feet to the office northeast of the site to the back of those lots, and then roughly about 150 feet from the industrial use to due north of the site. Next slide. Here are some amendment criteria listed in the Land Development Code for Town of Monument, separately from the final PUD plan criteria that we kind of just went over with town staff. I did just want to highlight this was kind of the starting point for our efforts with town staff on deciding whether or not this would be a minor or major amendment to the approved PD site plan. As you can see, 2 of the amendment criteria on this out of the 15 within this section of code are highlighted red. These were the 2 that we discussed with town staff, and ultimately it was decided that they were not being met. Therefore, a public hearing was required and approval from town council was needed for this application to go through. The first one of those criteria is number 4, the minimum lot size. With removing the easement from the lot, we did reduce the lot size, and specifically within this standard, we're not allowed to reduce the lot size over 10%. We were just north of that 10%. Therefore, we are not complying with the criteria. I do, however, want to highlight the last sentence. We are not looking to add any additional lots to this PD area or Willow Springs Ranch with this change. We're merely just trying to correct the PD plan so that it matches the approved plat. And then number 6, which is also highlighted red, We also, after correspondence with both town staff and also the town attorney, we deemed that changing the R4 development standards on a PV application on the cover sheet were deemed substantial text changes, as opposed to maybe just removing a couple of letters or text on the plan sheet. So therefore, that is also why that is highlighted red. Next slide, please. This is just a continuance of those amendment criteria. As you can see, and as town staff pointed out, no curb cuts or access points are changed. No vehicular access is being changed. Open space, sidewalks, none of that is being changed. Use area or any architectural features or treatments are being proposed or changed with this application. Next slide. As a part of the process with DR Horton, obviously, before we move forward with proposing this application, we wanted to make sure that they had homes that fit on the lots, or their current products that they were looking to put within the subdivision would fit when each of those lots. So we went one by one through the 8 different lots that were changing and did a lot fit analysis with some consultants from their team and consultants from our team to deem that ultimately these are buildable and they do have products and similar products that have already been built in the neighborhood. That would fit on these revised lots, and they will work. At this time too, I'd also just kind of highlight a question we did receive from the commissioners when we had presented at the Planning Commission. There was a concern, and as town staff mentioned, that additional lots would then go forward and be reduced down to 4,200 square feet as well. This application is just for these 8 lots specifically. If any of those changes were to be made, that would require a whole nother application process back to Planning Commission, and ultimately back before Town Council for an approval. And so I did want to just highlight that as well. I was recently out in the Willow Springs Ranch subdivision. I don't know if you guys have been a chance to make it out there or not or see, but the majority, if not all of this section of the development is built out currently. And so the worry of this kind of being a cascading effect is, I wouldn't say none, but none. At this time, I'd like to open it up to questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So I am guessing there are going to be some questions. So I'll open it up.
I just have and thank you for clarifying, and thank you for the Planning Commission for specifying that this is only the square foot lot change is only for these 8, and that it, so in the future, the future lots are going to go back to 5,000. It's only 4,200 for these 8, correct?
Yes, that is what this application's providing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, the Planning Commission. For that.
I just like to make a comment and say that I appreciate all the detail, but this is simply just a modification due to a utility easement. This has nothing to do with the builder, the applicant making a gross modification. Just we need MVEA to have a utility easement, right? That's it. Okay.
It's just modification.
Yeah, this should be very uncomplicated.
Yeah.
Couple questions. First, just for clarification, there's a roundabout and then it goes north.
Yes.
There's a roadway that goes north, so that's considered one of the outlets for all this.
Yes, that is the northern point, just north that roundabout. That does continue.
Okay.
Actually drove all the way from there.
So
here
my
tonight.
other question, and it's mainly directed towards staff. With this adjustment, was there any discussion about not having these 8 homes there, reducing those 8 homes and potentially maybe even putting in a park for the residents in lieu of?
I think you're misunderstanding the sequence of events. The drawings are what they're correcting.
I know.
Okay.
I know, but I'm just asking, has there been conversation? Have those questions been asked instead of going directly to?
They're built.
No, they're not built.
They're not built.
They're not built.
There's nothing built yet.
There's nothing
Okay.
built.
They're reducing the lot size from
Yeah.
what they originally requested by 700 square feet, 800 square feet. So the backyards will become smaller by
Yeah, that
800
makes sense.
square feet.
The answer to your question is no.
I will just add on to that as well. There are 2 other parks that were planned in this community separately from this area.
They're planned or they're in.
I do not know if they're built yet. I do not recall if they're actually built, but they are planned and a part of the prelim plan.
Don't see where they're located at. All I see is lots.
You can go
all
back
over.
to slide 3. The two darker colored areas, green, I should say, the darker green areas are identified as public park sites with this.
So those aren't just open space drainage areas or detention ponds. Those
That's
are
the
actually
lighter green.
functional parks.
Yeah, those are areas identified to be functional parks. The lighter green are the areas identified. The larger swath kind of going through is a big area of mouse habitat. And so that's why it was preserved in its original state, as well as drainage.
Okay.
So I got.
Councilmember Kimball?
I'll let others go.
Okay, so I mostly want to just get kind of clarification on this because I am pretty familiar with this project. Because you gave a presentation and it looks like the presentation is you want to take those other lots and shrink them. But my understanding is that the plat with the smaller lots has been approved. Is that correct?
And recorded.
So why the presentation? What, I mean, it seems like you're asking to fix an error on the plat as far as the minimum square footage of the lots. Is that correct?
We are asked to correct the PD application to match the approved recorded plat, which results in a lot size reduction.
So I'm a little confused on the process. First off, who owns these lots? Does D.R. Horton own them now?
They are the home builders, yes.
And so you're just representing them as NES because you designed the original.
We worked
site
on the
plan.
original prelim plan,
Okay.
prelim final plan.
So when these lots were originally approved, they were over 5,000 square feet. And then when the final plat was approved, it came back with the smaller lots, but nobody caught the fact that it was 5,000 square foot was the minimum lot size on the plat.
I did not, in our office, NES office did not process the final plat application. That was done through a separate consulting team. We just did the prelim final PUD plan, and now we are doing the prelim final PUD.
So somebody else designed the final plat, is that correct?
Another company, yes, sir.
So it gets even more confusing. And then then it went through our town and it presumably didn't get caught there as well before it got recorded. So who caught this error?
That was, I believe that was brought up at Pikes Peak Regional Building. So when
they went
going to pull building permits and looking at across all the different entitlement applications approved for the plan, it was notated that the amendment application or the entitlement application for the prelim PUD site plan was not in conformance with the other documents. So therefore, there was requested to update that so that all things are matching, so that a building permit can be issued for these 8 lots.
So they're sitting there because they can't build them because there's a requirement on there that the lots need to be over 5,000 square feet.
They need to match the final plat.
So do the lots not match or the 5,000 square foot part not match?
I guess both would not match. The lot sizes do not match, and the 8 lots that don't match are below 5,000 square feet.
Right. So it's a matter of square footage. That's what I'm kind of getting at. It's really a matter of square footage. It's not a matter. So D.R. Horton bought the lots as modified because you also went through to make sure that they could have houses that fit on it. But it seems like they bought the smaller lots already because we're not reducing that. I mean, I'm confused about that part of it. There seems to be a piece missing in here and I don't get it.
I don't know when the transition or purchase happened by D.R. Horton of these 8 lots, if it took place with the original entitlement of the prelim PUD application, or if that took place after the final plat. I'm not aware.
Well, it seems like they couldn't buy it until there was a final plat. I mean, they have to have title, right? I'm just missing this piece and I don't know where the piece is missing. My concern would be more than anything is that this came to the planning commission and went to town council and they reviewed the plat and it said minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet and they were okay with the 5,000 square foot. And it's not a parallel universe, so I can't go back. So would they have changed their vote if it was 4,200? You know, I mean, we can't go back in time and do that. So I'm just trying to find out because you're not asking. If the final plat is recorded and the lots are smaller and they bought the lots that were smaller, then presumably they had houses that fit on it. And I just don't understand the whole presentation. It seems like it should have just been, we made an error. It should have been 4,200 square feet on these lots on the plat and it wasn't. So are we changing anything as far as the lots go, as far as the final plat goes? And maybe this is a question for Jeff if he knows. And this is way before Jeff's time, so he probably doesn't know.
So what I could speak to in your questions, Pro Tem King, is it's a matter of sequencing of process. So the PUD was, the PD was approved with these larger 5,000 square foot lots. At some point, a plat was processed and approved to change those 8 lots. That should not have been approved. The PUD should have been revised before that plat could be done. Because that happened way before the fact, or this, what we're dealing with now is after the fact, this is merely a clerical correction in many ways to the PD so that it matches what the plat has on it.
And
The only reason why it is a PD major amendment is because of the lot size change was greater than 10%.
Right, but that's the
And the
part I'm
text
getting at.
change.
The plat that was recorded, that was approved by council and the planning commission had these smaller lots on it, and it just said that the minimum size needed to be 5,000 square feet on the plat. Is that the whole entire problem here?
At that point, I cannot speak. I was not there. I was not a part of that process. I was not a part of the review process of that final plat.
Right, yeah, I know this is way before your time.
What sounds to me like the problem is that they didn't know, or that the utility easement has changed. Is that right or wrong?
At the time of the original application, when early discussions were had with MVA, the whole goal was to vacate that and relocate all that infrastructure. So everything was as is, and that's how the plat would have went forward. The final plat was an instrument used to vacate that easement. So that's when the nitty gritty kind of got into the design and relocation and the burden that would take place on relocating that. And it was ultimately deemed that we do not want to relocate. We do not want to move that infrastructure. And so we'd like to keep it where it is, but there's concern having an easement where we need common access to a lot that is an individual property owner's.
So who's making the decision? MVEA has decided unilaterally that they're not going to follow the recorded documents where their utility lines are supposed to be moved. I mean, if the recorded documents say their utility line should not be there, then MVEA, which I assume they don't have a representative here at the meeting, should be moving them so the lot sizes are not reduced. Because that's how it was recorded.
Right.
So why isn't MVEA moving their utility lines? What is blocking them from moving them aside from grass and roads?
So, Mayor, the statement that you provided assumes that there is not already a recorded plat that allows for MVA to stay where it is located. And that is not true. We have a final plat that is recorded that shows the MVA's easement staying in place of where it is. And instead of that moving, the lots are getting smaller. And that is an approved, recorded final plat. All we are doing tonight is clerical corrections to a PD for zoning to reflect those lot changes as they are in the recorded final plat.
At the risk of oversimplifying for me, this just sounds like housekeeping.
Yes.
Staff would agree with that statement.
I don't understand why we're making this such a complicated issue.
At the expense of the fact that the lots were originally equal at 5,000 square feet, because that was what was recorded as the minimum lot size. And now, because it's more than 10%, it's a major amendment. And those lots will be probably, I don't know if they're all 5,000 square feet, but now we're going to go down to 4,200 square feet per lot, well, times 8 lots.
Only for those 8 lots.
So are the rest of the lots 5,000 square feet? And
It's just the,
so it's just these 8.
yeah. It's just
And there are the other ones.
that one, that one border strip that they showed, and it does, I mean, we live in a world, I mean, I understand that mistakes are made, and I think that we're trying to look for it. I mean, I don't think anybody did anything here deceptively or deliberately, and that I don't sense that at all. So I know this is a public hearing item and we can have as much discussion as we want, but I'm in favor of passing this and letting things move forward.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? Councilmember Kimple, do you have more questions?
No, I'm really stuck on the fact that there wasn't more discussion from staff about other options or what to do about this one area.
It was already platted though. What you, at that point, they would have to, it's not even on the staff to come back and,
I know, but we're making, I'm worried about other things, but okay, we can move on.
all right. Since there's no other questions, it's a public hearing item. We'll open it up to, the public if they've got any comments or questions or for or against statements for this, ordinance. No, anybody online? Okay, then we'll bring it back to the council for final discussion or a motion.
I will make a motion to pass ordinance number 03-2024, an ordinance approving a major PUD amendment number 1 for Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final PUD site plan.
Stand by. Councilmember Kimple.
Running through some of the notes that the planning commission made a motion regarding to ensure that there was verbiage that it just pertains to these 8 lots. That was their recommendation in that.
Isn't that all we're dealing with? Isn't that implied in the ordinance? Mr. Cola, would it affect any other lots but these 8 lots?
Yeah, and I was in that discussion with the planning commission. I think it's pretty clear that it only affects 8 lots. If you want that as an added clarification, I'm okay with it, but I think this application is limited only to these 8 lots.
Well, all the other lots are developed, just so you know, in this particular filing, so. And I wasn't trying to beat a dead horse. I'm just trying to figure out how that process went down, because I was a little bit confused. Because I saw an old plat and the plat had on it those smaller lots. So I wasn't sure what we were trying, the presentation kind of seemed out of sync with what the question was. And I just want to be clear that we're not changing lot sizes.
It could have been a little simpler, I think is what you're saying, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If everyone's more comfortable with me amending that motion to.
Attorney,
I made a motion.
okay, we have a motion and a second.
My second.
We have multiple seconds.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Mayor LaKine,
Yes.
Councilmember Purito,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next up, resolution 75-2023. Do we need a break? Okay,
I think maybe you want to wait till just before we go into the executive session. Maybe
let's just,
do A through C and then take a break.
Yeah.
Make it good. Yeah.
all right. Resolution authorized certification of the property tax mill levy to the El Paso County Assessor for budget year 2024, beginning first day of January 2024, ending last day December 2024. Mona.
Wasn't that for the budget year 2024. In the meantime, we received the final certification from El Paso County at the end of December. So we were able to actually run some numbers and provide you with 5 different scenarios. One will be to keep the mill levy at 5.75, which is the current mill levy. But then also, if you wish so, we can reduce the mill levy, and I kind of provided you in incrementals of 0.25. So you have 5, you have 5.5, 5.25, 5, and then 4.73. Each mill levy will provide you also with an expected revenue. And I can share on the screen what I just provided as a hard copy. If you give me just a second, please. Okay. So the first scenario, it's to keep the 5.75, which is the current mill levy. As you are aware, the El Paso County increased the assessed value in the middle of 2023. So the increase assessed value is actually 80 million more than what we had in 2023 budget year. So right now we have 303 million, and you can see the exact number on the screen, assessed value. If we apply the current mill levy, that will provide the town of Monument with a revenue of 1.7 million. And then from there, like I said, I provided different scenario, mill levy, 5.25, 5.5, and then 4.73, and also the associated revenue with each of the mill levy. I'm respectfully requesting your input into which mill levy you would like to approve going into next year. The resolution and the memo per our attorney instructions, we left those empty for you. And based on which one you're gonna pick, we will fill out and provide you for
And
approval.
one thing that I want to add to this, each and every one of these provides more revenue than what you budgeted for 2024. Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
All right, so my biggest concern with this is, and by the way, I'm in favor of us lowering it as low as we can possibly lower it to benefit the citizens of Monument. However, we can't raise it back up.
True.
And
Do you want to talk?
I don't trust the state to not screw with this again, because they've not completed whatever it is they're going to do for the next couple of years anyway. So, Mr. Cole, per Tabor, if we lower this to 473, or if the state does something that adversely impacts our revenue based on their assessment. I mean, we see what they're doing in Douglas County and a couple other locations where they've now blocked the counties from changing certain values. What happens if we have a shortfall? And we would have to go to the people to raise the mill levy back up, which would take a whole year to process. Right?
So a couple of things. Under the Tabor Amendment, 1992 Tabor Amendment to the Colorado Constitution posed a number of financial requirements. One is that you can't increase a mill levy without voter approval. Now, in the special legislative session that just ended, the legislature adopted a bill that authorized temporary mill levy reductions for this very purpose, to allow local governments to temporarily reduce their mill levy and then increase it later in order to allow a break for the taxpayers because of the high increases in assessed value. There's been a similar piece of legislation on the books since mid 1990s. Remember, Tabor adopted in 1992. Pretty quick after that, the legislature adopted another bill that allowed a temporary tax reduction by statute. And that's been there forever. In terms of constitutional law, statutes have to be in compliance with the Constitution. If a statute is not in compliance with the Constitution, it's unconstitutional. When you hear that, that's unconstitutional, well, that's what it means. The Constitution is the supreme rule. So courts look to try to interpret constitutions and statutes so that they are in sync and aren't in violation. But ultimately, if a statute is in violation of a constitutional provision, it's unconstitutional, it doesn't work, it doesn't apply, and you follow the Constitution. There's always been this great legal theoretical question of whether the statutorily authorized mill levy reductions that can go back up are in compliance with the Tabor Amendment, the constitutional provision. So that would go for this new measure that was recently adopted in the special session. Is that in compliance with Tabor? Of course, that hasn't been tested. That original statutory provision that I mentioned that was adopted back in the 1990s, it's never been challenged. It's been questioned early on, and now it's kind of assumed that it is valid. So I can't tell you that with absolute certainty that if you did a reduction under this new authorization, that you'd be allowed to raise it back up if you were challenged under Tabor. But the fact that that other statute's been around forever and not challenged, and given again this principle that courts try to interpret statutes so that they comply, there's a lot of jurisdictions that are temporarily reducing their mill levies, and it will create a lot of havoc if the Colorado Supreme Court said that that's not in compliance with Tabor. But again, I can't give you a guarantee that it is in compliance to the mayor's.
Well, the makeup with
position.
the makeup of the Supreme Court would probably be in favor of allowing us to do this.
I would think so.
So I was, in light of Mayor LaKine's comment, and I agree with him, with the legislature mucking about up in Denver, I would strongly suggest that we temporarily reduce the mill levy and see what the legislature doesn't do, and then we can potentially revisit. And I imagine we can adjust the mill levy at any point or just once a year.
Once a year.
So then
You're going to have
I revisit next time, well, in December.
We would revisit anyway, because Mona has to state to the county anyway.
Correct.
My concern is, well, so the language doesn't specifically state in the resolution that it's temporary. It doesn't indicate permanent or temporary. Is the assumption that it's temporary based on the statute?
Yes.
So it doesn't have to imply one way or another.
I think on the form itself, you have to annotate that it's temporary. On the, not the form letter, but the state.
Division.
Mona, is your official form to the county, does it have a block to indicate whether it's temporary or not?
I don't believe so, no. But also I want to bring to the town council attention this increase in the assessed value. It's valid for, I believe, and Bob, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's only valid for the next 2 years. It can go down at some point in the future also. So not only the mill levy can, who knows what's going to happen with
but
that.
it can go up, and if we lower
can go up
if we lower
also.
if we lower the mill levy and it goes up, it could be that we're now out of balance, and we have to go to the citizens, put it on for them to vote to get the mill levy back up again, and if they say no,
then we have
then
to
we
stick
have to
with.
be shuffling money from a different bucket.
I mean, ideally,
You have to balance the budget.
Right, we have
Yeah.
to balance the budget.
And also election, it's expensive too. It's not,
Right.
cheap.
And just to, so I reconfirm this, the CERT does have a block for temporary or permanent, because Triview is at 35 mils. And they've been reducing on a temporary basis every year. But with the option that they can bump it up if things go sideways. So there's a block that that allows the municipality or the district to annotate this is a temporary or permanent drop or increase in the levy.
So do we just want to add language to section 1 saying that this is a temporary,
It's just a resolution now. It doesn't really have.
any teeth? Yeah.
I mean,
We just give
ideally,
direction to the staff that it's a temporary.
Well, I think even if you guys did, or if we did have to go back to the voters, I think that for the voters to trust us taking it back to them, they would trust us more if we lowered it initially and knew we had their best interests at heart.
Oh, I want to lower it. I'm saying not to lower it. I was just.
I'm just adding to comment. That's all.
I
Yeah.
mean, the ideal fix would be to lower the assessed values on houses in Monument. But Douglas
allowed.
County tried to do that and they got kicked out.
I think
I don't
think they're done with that
Well, they
fight,
don't
but
have to
that's,
do either.
yeah.
But I mean, that would be the easy solution and you just keep the mill levy the same and you don't have to deal with it later. But
Okay, so the temporary, not temporary, we'll leave that up to the legal minds. They're asking for us to pass a resolution with a number.
I'm in favor of 4.73.
Okay. Just taking a informal poll.
There you go.
2 for 4.73. Do I hear a third?
Yes.
I hear a fourth.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
All right. Is it unanimous? 473?
So one quick question.
I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
As a percentage of the revenue, what does property taxes bring in? Do you know?
Yes, so property taxes will be anywhere between 12 and 13%, depending on the year
Total.
of
Right.
total revenue.
The 14. Did I hear that right? Okay.
12 to 13 more.
It's,
Um, ours-
we're not a dependent organization on property tax. We depend mainly on sales tax.
So right now, just to keep things in perspective, for 2023, we collected about a little bit less than 1.3 million. So even the 4.73, it's an increase. However, our staff recommendation will be not necessarily to go so low, but more like in the middle, just to prevent if we can go up unless we have an election, or if the assessed value will go down, But obviously, the town
Well,
council
you're the
is the one who
person with the
decides.
numbers, so how concerned are you?
So I will, things are changing every year. I can read what the governor or is gonna do, but because of that, because of the unknown, I will recommend either the 5.5 or 5.25, so somewhere in the middle.
That's fine.
I'm good with splitting it.
Yeah, let's split it. It's fine.
Okay,
It's not a big part of the tax bill, that's for sure.
okay,
Okay, so who, I think I'm good with 5.5. It's the middle, right? 5.5?
5.
I wouldn't want, I don't want to go over 5 really, but
5.25 will be more the middle, but
Maybe the middle. Okay.
it's your,
I'd prefer 5.
I go 5.25.
Do I hear 6?
Well, that we can't do.
5.
So you have 5.25. Mr. Kimple?
I would like 5 or 5.25 is okay. Yes, lower would be better. However, I'd really like to know some of the other things that we talked about. Paperwork wise, is there that box that you have to submit that it's only temp, can we find out some of these other facts before we vote on?
No, we
this?
have to vote on it because she has to submit.
there is a deadline.
This is all part of the.
Well, it's delayed. It should have been submitted
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
We're
By
now in that
December
window that the governor created. I believe that if the statutory said, because this has come up before, where when we originally lowered the mill levy to 575, we talked about it being temporary also.
Yeah, we've lowered the mill levy every year for the past 5 years, pretty much.
For the last 2 years, they've been
Yeah, the last
5.75.
couple of years, it's 575. So let's pick a number, let's agree and get this resolution passed so that Mona can submit this to the county. Otherwise, none of us get our tax bills. Which would be fine, but
Okay.
I'd go with 5.
I prefer 5.
Second or the ninth?
So tonight we have the meeting. It has to be submitted by the, what did I say, 10th?
Well, it's before the 16th. It's before our next meeting. We have to do this tonight. Yeah.
It's been a day, so by the 10th, but we don't have another meeting until the 16th.
My suggestion is 5. Yes,
are
sir.
we good with 5? Do I hear?
5, it's good. Give them a discount.
All right, Ken's choking it back, but he's gonna take one for the, he's gonna take one for the team. Okay, so, mill levy, that'll be 5, and I'm not gonna fill in the dollar amount.
Do we have to vote on it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just filling out the form.
It's a,
Would you like me to make a motion while you're filling out your form? I will make a motion to approve resolution number 75, 2023, a resolution to authorize the certification of the property tax mill levy to the El Paso County Assessor for the budget year 2024, beginning on the first day of January 24, ending the last day of December 2024 at 5%.
5 mils.
5 mils.
Second.
Sorry, 5 mils. Pardon me. Pardon me. 5 mils. My bad. 5 mils.
When you, after your second, I've got a point for you.
Second.
So I looked at the form. The form very clearly does call for a line for the temporary reduction. So we certify the full amount, then we certify the reduction amount. And so then the net amount that goes on the form is the amount you're talking about right now. Clearly indicates it's a temporary reduction.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes?
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that motion passes 7-0. Next up is resolution 02-2024, resolution appointing members to the planning commission. Ms. Croner?
Mr. Mayor and Town Council, unfortunately, Ms. Croner couldn't attend tonight, so I'm going to do this presentation on her behalf. The Town of Monument Planning Commission, which also acts as the Board of Adjustments, is to consist of 7 regular members and 2 alternative members. The terms of which are staggered. Alternate members are utilized to ensure a quorum at each meeting and are appointed to serve as regular members in the absence of 1 or 2 regular commissioners. All members are appointed for a 2-year term. On December 31st, 2023, the term of 3 regular members, Commissioners Green, Zernicko, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, and Peck, along with the term of 1 alternate, Commissioner Needler, expired. While all 4 members were eligible for reappointment, 3 indicated they were not interested in seeking reappointment. Regular members, Commissioner Green did indicate interest in being reappointed.
Alternate Commissioner Chad Smith via email on November 15th indicated to town planning staff an interest in being appointed as a regular voting member of the Planning Commission. Commissioner Smith was recently appointed as an alternate to the Planning Commission on May 1st, 2023, and his term is to expire on December 31st, 2024. A copy of the email from Smith indicating his interest in serving as a regular member, along with his originally submitted application and resume, are attached in the board packet for your consideration. Staff then conducted outreach seeking applicants to fill the vacant positions. One application was received from Corey Peterson. A copy of Mr. Peterson's application is in your packet as well. Should the council choose to reappoint Commissioner Green as well as appoint current alternate Commissioner Smith and the new applicant Peterson to serve as regular members of the commission, there will remain 2 vacancies for alternate member positions. One of the alternate positions will expire December 31st, 2024, replacing Smith, and the other will expire on December 31st, 2025, replacing Needler. Staff will continue to seek applications to fill these vacancies as quickly as possible by advertising the openings on the town website. Staff recommendation tonight is to appoint Ms. Kathy Green, Mr. Chad Smith, and Corey Peterson as regular members to the Planning Commission for 2-year term effective January 2nd through December 31st, 2025. Can I stand for any questions?
Are the applicants, do we have the applicants here? Are they available?
We have applicants. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with who you are, sir. Okay, Mr. Peterson, there's any questions for Mr. Peterson? He would be for what position is this, alternate or?
No.
This is for a regular appointment. This is to replace one of the current applicant or commissioners.
You have 3 positions and 3 applicants currently.
Oh, well, that makes it easy. Okay, and I know Mr. Smith is traveling. I don't think he's on, but does anybody have any questions for Mr. Peterson since he's here?
I read his resume. He seems very well qualified. And so does Mr. Smith, seems very well qualified. And Kathy Green's obviously been there for a while. She's very well qualified. I think it's all a go for me.
I concur.
Okay, well, then if there are no questions for the applicants or no comments, then I will look for a motion.
I recommend the 3 applicants, Mrs. Green, Mr. Smith, Mr. Peterson, regarding resolution 02 TAC 2024, appointing all 3 members to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Erickson?
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that motion passes 7-0. Next up, resolution 03-2024, appointing a local resident to the PPACG Community Advisory Committee, Mr. Foreman.
Yes, the Community Advisory Committee is an advisory committee to the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments on matters affecting regional transportation, aging issues, air and water quality, and military installation and community compatibility planning. CAC members consist of those appointed citizen representative from local governments in the Pikes Peak region, community-based organizations that are granted memberships at the discretion of PPACG, and general citizen at large membership. Our area representative, Terry Hayes, has served 2 consecutive terms as of November 20th, 2023, which is the term limit established by their bylaws. Therefore, the town of Monument may appoint a new representative. Notice this opportunity was prominently displayed on the town's website and all social media platforms from December 6th through December 21st. Individuals seeking appointment were requested to submit letters of interest to the town clerk, and those submitted have been included in your council packet for this meeting. The notice provided encouraged individuals seeking an appointment to attend this meeting tonight. In the event council would like to ask any questions of the candidates prior to making an appointment. And then there's a description on Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments in your
packet. Be glad to answer any questions.
Looking for the applicants. You said they're in the packet? Do we have anybody that expressed interest?
We didn't have anybody express interest.
Oh, okay, well, so, then I think I will have to go and bring this to PPACG's attention at next week's meeting. Unless we put out another, if you want to put out another social media blast,
We can first thing in the morning.
get some, I'm sorry? Do both what? Well, if we come up with a applicant before next Wednesday's meeting, then I won't say anything to them. If we don't have an applicant, then I will let them know that we could not find one, and the issue with that is we won't have representation
Right.
for Northern El Paso County.
Does the council have anybody in mind that they could recruit?
Mr. Busby.
Or Mrs. Lusby? How about Mrs. Lusby?
You do?
Got a great back.
I know, I'm just, I know. You know, you can always talk to Ms. Hayes about what her time commitment was and what exactly she did, because I didn't see, they don't go to the same meetings that I go to.
No.
So
Total 100% different meeting.
it's completely different. So I don't know what the commitment is for the advisory committee. Okay, so we will continue this
There you
resolution
go.
indefinitely. We need a vote on that.
Do you want to continue it to the next meeting? And
Continue it till the next meeting.
yeah, that would be
All right,
best.
so then we need to vote on, Mr. Cole, we need to vote on continuation to the next meeting? Yeah, okay, so make a motion to continue to January
16th.
16th.
I'll make a motion to continue.
I just did. I just did. It's no second.
Second.
All right, everybody's got a second. It's Erickson.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes?
and Councilmember Kimple.
We can pass that at 6-0. All right, we will take 10 minutes. Actually, we'll take to the bottom of the hour. So 8:30. We will begin the executive session we'll start it in this room. Are we moving this upstairs, Mr. Foreman? No, I'm fine with us having it in here. Okay, so we'll be back in 15 or 12. Okay, we are back from executive session. We will proceed when we have the full council seated and the town manager. Okay, up next, we have resolution number 04-2024, a resolution approving a final plat for Zeal at Jackson Creek, final plat. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. Staff will be reading from the TC packet. Memorandum, January 2nd, 2024. This is regarding the Zeal at Jackson Creek preliminary final plat application. Background. Town received a preliminary final plat application for Zeal at Jackson Creek. Proposed preliminary final plat is zoned PRD 10 for the Regency Park Overlay District. Key items of the plat include one lot, a drainage easement, a 30-foot public use easement along Higby Road, 20-foot utility easements along Bowstring Road and Sunny Shore Drive, and a 10-foot utility easement along the eastern back lot line. An existing 20-foot electrical easement is to be vacated by separate instrument in the future, but is not part of this application. The Planning Commission reviewed this preliminary final plat application at the November 8th Planning Commission hearing, continued the item to the December 13th Planning Commission hearing, and recommended this application for approval with a vote of 4 for and 1 opposed. The discussion. This is a 20 acre preliminary final plat. It's for a single lot. The purpose for this plat is to complete the subdivision of land in conformance with all of the applicable requirements and standards of the town. Staff reviewed the application and it met all criteria of the code for a preliminary final plat. The only item that was in question was whether enough right-of-way was provided with the proposed public use easement along the south side of Higby Road. Higby Road is a 70-foot right-of-way. It is owned by the town, but will be designed, built, and maintained by Tri-View Metro District. To ensure adequate right-of-way is in place to accommodate future growth of the Higby Road corridor, Tri-View has acquired a 30-foot public use easement along the southern edge of Higby Road and is securing a 20-foot public utility easement on the north side of Higby Road from Jackson Creek Parkway to Cloverleaf Road to ensure this portion of Higby Road will have 120 feet in the right-of-way and public use easement to build the future Higby Road. A 120-foot width ensures the town that if needed, a minor arterial roadway could be built along the corridor. Fiscal impact is not applicable. Staff's finding was that staff finds the requested resolution number 4/2024 and preliminary final plat for Zeal at Jackson Creek meets all the review and approval criteria of sections 1802-250 and 1802-60. For record, I would like to show you the proposed final plat so you can see what it is that we are discussing tonight. This is the Zeal at Jackson Creek final plat. This is the single lot. This is the drainage easement. This is the utility overhead easement that will be vacated. We have 20-foot utility easements on Bowstring Road and on Sunny Shore Drive. And we have the 30-foot utility easement on Higby Road. Staff is going to reintroduce or reiterate what the criteria were for the final plat. Go back there. And staff will be reading in staff's review of that criteria into the record. Section 1802-260, final plat review approval criteria. Section C, review and approve criteria. Final plat shall comply with the following review and approval criteria. Item 1, the plat conforms to the town's comprehensive plan, parks, trails, and open space plan, and other plans adopted by the town from time to time. Staff finds that criteria is met because the location, potential development type, and attributes are keeping with the substantially compliant are keeping with and substantially compliant with the future land use map and the plat is generally consistent with the vision, values, strategic goals, and elements of the comprehensive plan. Item number 2, the plat proposes a harmonious development and lot pattern that is compatible with the neighborhood and community. Staff finds the criteria is met because the lot is zoned PRD 10, which has a density maximum of 10 dwelling units per acre and a building height maximum of 35 feet. This is an appropriate transition of development from the PRD 4 zone property to the east and the PMD zone property to the west that ensures the harmonious development and lot pattern with the neighborhood and the community. Item 3, the lot and development pattern ensures there will be adequate light, air, parks, open space, and other places for public use. Staff finds the criteria is met, providing adequate light, air, park, and open space and other places for public use. Because the lot coverage maximum for PRD 10 is 40%, the density maximum for the development is also 10 dwelling units per acre. With a 20-acre lot and 40% coverage, this means only 8 acres of the overall lot can even be covered by buildings. With a density of 10 dwelling units per acre, the site can only have 201 units. And with that dividing 804 acres by 201, you're looking at building units that can only be about 1,743 square feet as a unit. Because of that, staff finds that the criteria is ensuring that there will be adequate light, air, parks, open space, and other places for public use. The plat design provides for adequate access to all lots and tracts and proposed in the subdivision. Criteria 4. Staff finds the criteria is met because the proposed lot has access to Higbee Road, Bowstring Road, and Sunny Shore Drive, and the proposed drainage easement also has access from Bowstring Road. Criteria 5. Adequate, safe, and efficient public improvements, utilities, and community facilities and services will be provided with sufficient capacity to serve the subdivision. Subcategory A, a sufficient supply of water is available and sufficient water rights have been dedicated to the town or applicable district in conformance with the applicable district's water standards. Staff finds the criteria is met because the site is within the Tri-View Metro District, who has provided will-serve letters for both water and sewer for the proposed plat. Item B, 5B. The owners and or developers of the property will bear the cost of improvements which would benefit the land being developed and paid their fair share of any community improvements and or facilities. Staff finds that criteria is met because the plat will be in the ownership of the applicant, who is also the future developer of the land on the plat, and the plat is located in Tri-View Metro District, who the applicant will need to meet the district's roadway, park, and school requirements, which have been satisfied with the town. Criteria 6. The plat design provides for adequate protection from fire, flood, geological hazard, significant soil constraints, and other dangers, and provides for proper design of stormwater drainage, erosion control, and streets. Staff finds the criteria is met because there is low at-risk ratings for wildfire in the area. An authorized 404 permit for the area does not specify any mitigation with any further use. United States of America Corps of Engineers actions or coordination required. The groundwater encountered was 7 to 13 feet below ground surface with no below grade levels planned for the site, and mitigation measures and foundational strategies provided for the future development are provided. Criteria 7, the plat conforms to all applicable provisions of these regulations and any other applicable provisions of the Monument Municipal Code and all applicable county, state, and federal regulations. Staff finds this criteria is also met by conforming to all applicable provisions of these regulations, any other applicable provisions of the Monument Municipal Code, and all county, state, and federal regulations. Criteria 8, the plat design provides for the preservation and conservation of unique or distinctive natural areas, scenic areas and views, natural landmarks, including rock outcroppings and unique landforms, significant wildlife habitats and migration areas, drainage areas, riparian areas, wetlands, historic features, and archaeological sensitive sites, recognizing the irreplaceable character of such resources and their importance to the quality of life in Monument. Staff finds that criteria is met because there is no critical wildlife habitat identified on the site, nor are there any applicable unique or distinctive natural areas located on the property to be platted. The plat design, criteria 9, the plat design provides for the preservation and conservation of significant stands of vegetation. Staff finds criteria is met because the criteria is not applicable. There are no significant stands of vegetation on site. It is a grassland area. Criteria 10, the final plat is generally consistent with the preliminary plat as applicable. Staff finds the criteria is met because the application was processed as a preliminary final plat and the criteria for review for the same are the same for both the preliminary and the final plat review. This ends staff's review of this application.
Okay, is there a presentation from the applicant?
I'm Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'm Jim Doby with Doby Development Group, the applicant. I want to thank you for your time this evening and your consideration of this application. It was about a year ago that we started talking with staff, town staff, about this plat and working with a lot of members here in the community. I think we've come to a good understanding with respect to the right of way and the roadway here on the monitor. I'm showing what a very oversimplification of what's happening with the roadway here. The red shows the 30-foot easement that would be dedicated on the south side of Higbee. The green is the 20. When we started on this application over a year ago, Higbee was just 70 feet right away, and there was a 20-foot contemplated 20-foot easement on the south side. But staff noted that the right of way there didn't quite conform with what the town was wanting, and then they started talking about the 120-foot right of way, and that's when Tri-Views stepped in and started working with the school district and some of the other whoever owns the stuff on the north side. I know Jim McGrady with Tri-View has been negotiating on that and working on the government intergovernmental agreement that establishes this, and so or establishes the right of way and the utility easements. And so it's been a long year, but it's nice that we're finally getting to this point and being able to present this to you this evening. So if you have any questions, I'm here. I know I think Tri-View might be available as well at this hour, and but ready for any questions you might have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. You want to bring slides up? Jeff, can you bring slides up? So in case we have questions. First question I have, because you mentioned it, and it's part of our process actually, is did you have any public meetings with citizens in Monument, or in this case, part Monument, part unincorporated El Paso County, about what your plans were?
Well, we advertised as was required, and but as far as having large public meetings, no.
And did town staff not set the criteria that before the application was allowed to be submitted, that they were supposed to have meetings with the public like we've asked other developers to do and they've done?
Public meetings are not a direct requirement. It is a suggestion.
It was a requirement of the council, and staff was directed that developers, prior to submitting applications, were to meet with the public about what the citizens wanted for their community.
And we make that suggestion to every developer, but we can't enforce that. We suggest it to them.
Okay.
We don't have a code or an ordinance that requires that.
Okay.
Like
So in
Bob
other
is-
words, there
like Bob has
were no
mentioned.
public meetings with the citizens. So it was suggested to them. And the recommendation, the suggestion was not, you decided not to do that.
No, we noticed and made ourselves available, and we just didn't have any takers.
I don't recall any notices, but okay. Other questions or comments from the council?
Yes. So looking at the easements, so the lot line is at the green, or is it at the south side of the red? So essentially, where's the development beginning? Right. Is that's where the development, that's the property line, okay. And so the green easement, is that to Triview? Okay.
Yeah,
Where's the,
want to come up there?
Brett Benke with CSI Development in Jackson Creek. The green line, that 20-foot easement was
Yeah.
granted as a part of the Walter Commons filings 1 and 2 as a future right-of-way in Mountain View Electric easement. So that currently exists.
oh, okay. So that was an easement for that development that's to the north of Higbee.
Correct.
Okay. And that is in county.
I believe so.
Okay. Then the red easement is the easement that you guys are giving or dedicating, thank you, to Monument Triview for the purposes of extending Higbee south. And then the I'm going to call it plot line, it's probably incorrect. The development, sorry, it's late. The measurements for the development itself begins at the south side of that red easement, correct? So that south dotted line.
I think you're using the wrong criteria. That's red line's just an easement.
But so thank you for in terms of what's gonna go in, they're using the dotted line as the northernmost point of any development. Is that correct? Am I understanding it correctly? I should ask. It's not gonna go to the road, it's gonna go to the south side of the easement. When you're laying out your lines for all of the development.
Well, I think what you have on the screen, I think he's referring to 247 or 251. They're helpful to have that on the screen. 247 and 251. Yeah, it'd be a lot more helpful. Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Yeah, so that's the northernmost portion of the development itself. Because the red line is the easement that's dedicated for the road.
Right.
Am I reading it correctly?
Right. Well, it's dedicated for public use, right?
Yes, for the purposes of expanding Higbee, but yeah,
Or utilities or whatever.
Right.
It's an easement.
okay. Thank you.
Well, I want to hitchhike on that. Well, go ahead.
Can I just add real quick? I know Triview has been working with Kimley Horn to design that whole stretch of road for sidewalks, turn lanes, landscape, the roundabouts, all of that type of stuff. So really that's their design purview.
Mhm. But I guess what I'm trying to get at, and Jim, stop me if I'm stepping on your question.
No, go ahead.
In terms of what you're going to develop, that easement, you're not gonna, for the purposes of designing your development, you're going to use that southern red dotted line as the northernmost boundary.
Yeah, our buildings will stop on that southern red line.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect.
So you're saying there'll be an actual structure that stops at that red line? Or a property, not a building or part of a property? There's a difference. I mean, like, is that part of a yard or is that actual a wall?
No, there'll be, there won't be buildings in that red line, but we'll work with TriView. It's an easement, so it's still our property.
Right.
But there'll be sidewalks, there can be some yards, and landscape for private and public use, and then roadways as well, road widening.
Okay, on the while we're on that topic, let's go to the green line. So that's an existing already, MVEA easement, but will be a future right of way if approved. So if we go to the eastern part of that picture where those townhomes are, and that easement is really going into those people's backyards there, could that ever be a road? We would not want a road like expanded into that backyard. Is that as part of a right of way? Could that road get expanded there? That's very close.
It's personally, or currently, people's backyards. I think there's drainage and other things that might be taking place in that green area. And as I stated, the Walters Commons filings 1 and 2. I don't know, Jeff, if you have that handy, but it says future right of way and Mountain View Electric easement. It was platted that way, so it is an existing right of way.
It's already an existing right of way.
It says yes.
Okay.
Future right.
And that was when that development stood up. It was designated as future right of way.
Correct.
And or easement.
When people bought that property.
Correct.
Okay.
It's on there.
Okay.
All right.
Plat filing.
Okay.
For that condominium development.
We're trying to avoid the willow.
Yeah.
That's what's leading all these questions is we don't want a willow again. Yeah.
Is that a private thing, a willow?
No, it's a willow. The resolution or the ordinance that we just approved today.
Got it. I was thought we're missing something there.
Thank you.
Councilmember King, Mayor Pro Tem King.
Okay, so the issue that I have with this right of way scenario that we have right here is easements and right of ways are two different things. And our code states, because we need to take this as a right of way. Right of way means all streets, roadways, sidewalks, alleys, and all other areas reserved for present or future use by the public as a matter of right. And when this road was annexed, the agreement was the inclusion of the right of way in the TriView Metro District, and the right of way must also fall within the TriView boundaries. And it also states that like other roadways, both in the town and TriView, the town will own the right of way. So having easements for a right of way, where I have issues with it, particularly north, because I would think we'd need to annex that property, but even on the south, you kind of alluded to those buildings might be coming up to that easement. And if the road ever got expanded, because the right of way would allow the use to expand it from border to border on the right of way, we could have no setbacks. And that's why easements for right of way are generally not a good idea. I mean, all of our other right of ways are deeded. So as far as I'm concerned, we just need to establish the width of the right of way and figure out how to own that land so that it establishes property lines with boundaries, with setbacks, and doesn't harm the people to the north if we need to annex property to the north. I don't know what the school's got planned, but in this particular area, this easement, which is right now an electric easement, I believe, is you know, it could go 14 feet from the back of a house. And that to me is a problem. So somehow we got to establish a right of way, and somehow we've got to be able to have that land within the town boundaries.
Do we want to establish a setback from that southern right of way?
This is, we don't have any.
Oh, okay.
Because this is once this is approved, it becomes administrative, there'll be setbacks, but it could breach into this, or there won't be any. Because it's administrative. We're not.
Well, and again, our, you know, in all of the literature that I've found here with regards to our code, it states that the right of way needs to be within the town.
Right.
So this would be unprecedented if we did this and we went outside of our own requirements.
Well, if I understood it correctly, the red part is already in the town.
Yeah, but it's a difference between an easement. It's in the town boundaries, but I'm talking about in the town inventory as far as
okay,
right of way owned property is.
Gotcha. Because so your thought process is if that red portion was deeded to the town, then that's where the setback would begin.
Well, wherever it ends, I mean, we haven't established what the appropriate right of way is, but the northernmost right of way needs to end at where our town boundary ends, so that we don't have to annex property to the north, because if that road needs to be within the town per our code, and we need to own it, then we need to annex that property, which requires petitions from all these landowners to bring it into the town.
Right, so where the green and the red line to the north the red line starts at Jackson Creek and Higbee, just south of the football stadium, and it goes across the school's property through parking lot and baseball fields, and then you have the roundabout, and then the green line, which gets very close to the backyards of those townhomes. There is a ton of available land in the town's limits, in the Metro District's limits to the south. And there is zero reason that I could see why we wouldn't just shift the road south and leave the easements to make sure they're not being built on again. And I realize that will modify the plat, the final plat, but we're talking about a roadway that is going to be home to all the developments south of Higbee, all the way east that are in the town. And it needs to be at a certain width that includes the sidewalks and any other amenities that you feel like adding, like bike lanes. I assume that there'll be bike lanes, given the fact that you're going to have kids going to school. There you go. It's a requirement. Why are we even contemplating having a road or any portion of that road, the right of way, the easements? Why are we contemplating breaching the county line? There's no reason to. We brought in the road a year ago, a little over a year ago. It was annexed to the Metro District, and it makes no sense that we're going into the county at all. You've got ample acreage to the south to make this very, very clean. What possibly could be the reason to breach north?
I think the green easement is existing already.
It's not in the town.
It's not in the town, though.
No, it's county. I know that Triview is designing the road to go south. They're not designing the road to go north. I don't know.
But if the road, see the road, okay, so let's back up. The road classification right now, well, in the county, when it was annexed, was an arterial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The road classification in Monument doesn't exist. So the way I see this, we need to establish what the road classification is in order to establish the the actual right of way. But the whole entire right of way needs to be owned by the town per our documents and needs to be south of that northern town limit, or otherwise, easement or not, they have to petition to bring it in because we have to own it.
Are you talking about the green or the red?
The green. We have to own the right of way according to these documents. It's, and in the packet for the Higbee annexation, it says right here, like other roadways, both in the town and Triview, the town will own the public right of way, own it.
Yes.
So
that
we can't own the easement. We can use the easement
the green is an easement for MVEA.
for electric lines.
Yes.
Right.
The design for Higbee, when I last talked to Jim a couple of months ago, it's going south because
Right.
the green can't be touched because it's an easement and a right of way for MVEA.
But what I'm saying is, when you have right of way established, there's a right of way, there's requirements for each road, okay? Arterial is a 120-foot right of way. We need to have that 120-foot right of way for future whatever. That, whether that road's getting designed to go in there or not, it can at one point go all the way to the edge of the right of way.
Okay.
And so we can't, if it's 120 feet, we have to own it. If it's 95 feet, whatever it is, we have to own it.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter what size the road is. So don't think about the road.
I gotcha. But to me, these are, and help me out. These are, to me, it's parallel arguments. We're talking about Higbee, and then we're talking about the final plat.
But the plat is subject to the right of way.
For the red piece, I agree.
Well, it's not just the red piece. I mean, maybe it has to go further south. That's what I'm saying. We've got to establish what the right of way is going to be.
Right, because
So we
if
can
you don't
establish
move
where the
it south,
property
then
line is.
if you don't move it south, then that green it becomes part of it, and we would have to get annexation applications from all of the. I mean, I doubt the HOA. I mean, there's an HOA there that owns that green section to the east.
So we have to
your-
annex it.
So then, to your point, step one then is for Town and Monument to have a classification for
the road.
Because you can't go in and say, we're going to make it an arterial. And people are going to say, cool, what's your definition of arterial? We don't know, but we're going to.
Well, we have definitions of them, but whether correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but don't we use the El Paso County road classifications?
We use that in. When we require that, that's what they were negotiating with Tri.
Okay.
You have a pavement design and construction standard. Not a road classification.
Well,
No.
I didn't mean that. I meant,
No, in there, it does have road classifications.
All right, let the applicant speak.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Maybe if we could just maybe back up just a little bit, because as you stated, this was annexed into the town from El Paso County. El Paso County has a map that it currently says that Higbee Road is a collector. On its 2040, either 2040 or 2060 map, it does state that it upgrades it to a rural minor arterial. And by definition in El Paso County, a rural minor arterial has 100-foot right of way, not 120 feet. And so this is kind of how this all has came about, is that the town's standard is 120 feet. So we're trying to do our best to accommodate, and you have an existing 20-foot right of way on the north. The green line is an existing 20-foot right of way that was platted. And the red, we're willing to give the additional 30 feet to get to 120. Honestly, I don't see why we have to go past 100 whenever that's, so that was the criteria from El Paso County.
So that's the genesis for the 30, really, is the 100-foot, say, minor rural arterial.
Rural minor arterial.
Rural
correct,
minor,
yes.
okay. So that's really where the 100 feet comes in and the 30, the red.
There's no rule on that in the town of Monuments pavement design.
Right. But
Plus the rule is only 2 lanes.
right.
And you're talking about expanding that to 4 from that.
3. I think it's 3 lanes.
I thought it was 4.
Ivy and Kimley Horn are proposing to
A minor.
upgrade it to 4 lanes from Jackson Creek Parkway to the roundabout at Bowstring. Beyond there,
3 down to 3.
I believe it's, you had 2 with a center turn lane.
So if it goes to 100, let's just say it goes to 100 feet, okay, for argument's sake, it still needs to be in the town limits. And it still needs to be owned by the town, so it still needs to go.
But it does,
So
because when we talk,
limits.
It's not in the.
It's not.
in the
You're
town.
adding 20 to the north. That is not in the town
but
limits.
we're
That
not,
20
that's not what he's saying. He's saying 100 feet total using the red, that's not road up there at all. Like,
I understand, but it's part of the overall width of the right of way.
Yeah.
And so you.
but
can't
that
have
exists
a-
already.
But it's not ours. It's not part of the town. They're proposing, unless I'm wrong, is that this eventually could be part of our right of way.
I mean,
The 20
if you're willing
plus the
to-
70 plus the 30, that's your calculation to get to 120.
Includes the green.
Includes that right south of the high school, you got a red line that is clearly over into the county.
If you
And
go
we can't
west-
own
talking
that.
about further west. Yeah.
We would have to annex it in, and that means that the school would have to petition, and then the council would have to approve.
And anybody else that's in that has to petition and we would have to approve.
Right. So this is why I would suggest we don't even mess with the county land, because we don't know what that's going to take to get them to petition and the homeowners to petition. And it just shifts 20 feet further to the south, and then you don't have to worry about it.
And this goes further east too. This is not
Right.
just here.
Right.
Maybe-
That's why I said the townhomes.
Well, I mean, even further east than that. It goes all the way up to,
Yeah, then you run into somebody's house.
right.
Yeah.
It goes to the edge of we need the right of way established to the edge of the town limits. Which is
So,
home place
so the
range.
first thing we technically need to do is establish the
Road.
road type and
The road classification.
road classification. And at that point, that sets the width of the road. It would have to be in the town. Unless you get annexations. And
Which only lengthens the whole
process,
process.
right? And
I mean, Higby took how long? Never mind. Yeah. So yeah, the only real option is 1, like you said, we come up with classification. And then 2, we shift it south.
Yes, just a further question is, that I mean, in the town comprehensive plan, it talks about maintaining the small town feel monument. Do you want Higby Road to also be a Jackson Creek Parkway? Does it function as a Jackson Creek Parkway? Traffic counts are a third, if that, like it full build out.
And when Home Place Ranch gets built out and that connects with Sanctuary Point and Promontory Point and all that.
And
We're trying to look forward to 10, 15 years from now when everything is built out. And you have the high school there. You're talking hundreds of extra homes.
Commercially zoned land here and.
So
I do know Kimley Horn has taken Home Place Ranch into account. I believe Jeff with LSC's on the line and he has taken Home Place Ranch into account. He's applicant's traffic engineer. I mean, I'd like to hear how it compares to Old Denver Road, for example, and that's a 90-foot right of way major collector, I believe. So.
But Old Denver's being redesigned. Is that what you're talking about?
Upgraded to it. Is it upgraded to a 120-foot right of way?
Well, it's going to go right through Connexus, so the whole road's changing.
Yeah, that Old Denver is being completely rebuilt to go through Connexus. So, if you go to the north, you have 105, that's being redesigned to 4 lanes. You have Baptist, which is already 4 lanes to the south. Here's Higbee, that's going to be in the middle, and it's going to, at some point, it's going to have to be 4 lanes. And it needs to be in the town. That's I think the gist of this is it has to be in the town. And since we have no annexations right now that have been presented to us,
On the north side, yeah.
unfortunately, I don't know how we get to approving the final plat when part of the road is not in the town. If you shifted it and redid the plat, I don't see that. I mean, I don't see that there would be a problem.
What, the development that's to the west of this, what's the right of way on that one? Did we take that
Well,
into consideration?
Whatever this gets established at is going to go the whole.
Yeah, but there's development going in right now to the west of it.
It's classic home.
Where?
To the
west?
To the west of. Is it?
You're talking about the commercial lot to the.
No. Is that the commercial lot between Jackson Creek and what's going to be Bowstring? There's some construction going on.
That's not.
You're not talking, you're talking about on the other side of Jackson Creek?
No.
On the east side of
There's
Jackson
nothing going
Creek.
on right there.
No,
There's nothing
but
there.
south of that,
Yeah.
south of it.
So
There's
there's no plat currently to the east of Jackson Creek
the meat.
and south of Higbee?
No.
No.
No?
We have
Okay.
Nothing, I don't think.
So we are gonna have to apply this rule, essentially, this criteria to every development that's gonna go south of Higbee.
Which is why we need to
Right.
classify the
Yeah.
road.
Right.
Yes.
So that with the road being classified and everything being in the town.
Because we owe them,
I agree. I agree.
because then they can design the plat correctly. Because right now, there's no classification.
Does TriView have a road design at this point?
They
Mr.
have
Mr. McGrady was on the call. I don't know if he's still there or not, but
Well, if you go, I think if you go a couple slides up from this, you'll see you'll see what they have proposed
where? What,
for the roadway, because you'll see the 2 roundabouts.
Jeff, you want to say, you have something to say?
Just wanted to remind everyone that there is an existing IGA that TriView has with the town. That IGA, yes, the town does own the Higbee Road as it's been annexed. The IGA that the town has with TriView provides for TriView to do the design and the build out of that road as they see fit.
Based on our standards. That's what the
No,
IGA states.
it can take into account it, but it does not have to. That is how the.
I didn't read it that way, but
I didn't, Jeff, I didn't read it that way either. I think that's probably something that attorneys would have to get involved in if it came down to it. I think there's a wide interpretation to that agreement.
I was gonna ask for Mr. Cole's opinion on that. Okay. So let me clarify a couple things, if I may. So your guys' assumption was based on 100 feet going south, not ever planning on that 20 feet north ever being developed to road, including the high school property? Is that right or wrong?
I don't believe Kimley Horn's design intends to build on the 20 feet to the north. But the 120 feet of right of way does include the 20 feet on the north shown here, Walters Commons, and then 20 feet on the high school side.
Okay, and then who, if anybody, could ever decide as a right of way to develop that into road? I think maybe that's maybe a question maybe for you. Who has the authority to do that once it's a quote right of way?
Let's say Higbee is 100 feet and then traffic is really bad. X decides to take that 20 feet.
Who is X? That's my question.
So per the IGA, the requirements for the design and the build is on Triview, not on us, but we approve it. So
Okay.
we are the approving agency on that.
So in the future, Triview says traffic is really horrible. We've got this 20-foot right of way to the north. Hey, Monument, we're gonna take that right of way to the north.
But we'd need to approve it. Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
we have
If
to
it's in the
approve.
county, we can't approve it.
You're exactly right. The
Not in the town
the
of
issue
Monument.
the issue that you and Steve are bringing up, it's not in the town of Monument.
So the county
we
could
don't
do it if they
have-
wanted to.
no.
Could the county do it?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
We would have, just like Stephen and the mayor said, we would have to annex that property to be able to make it part of the town of Monument.
Yeah.
And-
Okay, so back to Jim's scenario. The Higby Road is 100 feet wide because we went south. Traffic is horrible. Triview comes to us and says, hey, town of Monument, Higby no longer supports the traffic. We need to go north. You, Monument, need to go annex that 20-foot right of way
And build it.
and build it. And then we say, no way, no how, because those folks are not gonna,
We can't, yeah, they have to ask.
Yeah.
338 would have.
That's his point. That his
Right.
point is that's no way, no how. Okay, yeah,
which brings
this
us back to.
is a mess.
Mayor LaKine was saying, one, we need to classify Higby. Because then that will dictate how much room we need to designate to the south. And then if it's 100 feet, then the 30 feet of that's already that the developer is willing to deed, what's the proper term? Sorry. Dedicate, thank you. Is good, but if we classify it as something else and we need 40, then we're back to square one with the developer.
Well, the dedication of the size of the road, since it's not dedicated, falls on us to determine. And whoever the developer is, I mean, Brett and CSI is looking to bring, like this gentleman here's company in.
Sure.
And they will be told, the road's been dedicated to this size, this is how much land you have, right? Something similar to that. They go, we're gonna do a plat for this much space, this is what's available, and they can determine whether it fits their needs or not. If it doesn't fit their needs, then it's like with any development, if they don't like the amount of land they have and they want more, and it's not available, you can't just make land up.
But it starts with the classification.
Right. So this is just a resolution, is it not?
Mayor?
So it's, yeah.
So another thought and suggestion with this discussion in mind, if you look at, and Jeff, could you go to either 249 or 250? If you look at the plat as proposed, it's a single lot. And can you blow that up? There you go. If you look at that on the final plat, and it's similar on the preliminary plan. It's proposed as a single lot with a 30-foot access and utility easement. Whatever you end up believing is the right amount to have dedicated for roadway purposes going south in that red area. Instead of having that part of the lot, I would recommend that the lot be south of that roadway and that roadway be a separate parcel that's dedicated to the town for right-of-way purposes, so that any setbacks are measured from the lot line. The road is dedicated to the town with a plat note that says it's dedicated to the town for road purposes, so that you ultimately
Right,
have.
yeah, the
delay.
the setbacks need to come off of the lot line, not off of the easement, because otherwise we'll have zero lot line. Potentially.
Are you suggesting that we modify this and make it 50 feet instead of 30 feet?
I'm not suggesting the width. That's for you to decide, but instead of having it a 30-foot access and utility easement within the lot, that this create, instead of one single parcel, that's lot one, you have lot one and you have a dedicated roadway right of way. north of that,
Of
Taking it
of that
to-
lot,
north of that lot.
line, got it. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, let Mr. Hodson speak.
Well, wait a minute, is everybody comfortable with what he just said, though? I
But
mean,
it's gonna have, that will take place for a while. Mr. Hodson works.
Hi, Jeff Hodgson, LSC Transportation Consultants. I just had a thought. I just wanted to, I brought up the El Paso County.
Mr. Hodson, I enabled your mic. You'll have to unmute yourself on your side for us to hear you.
He's speaking. Is the speaker volumes turned up on the TVs?
They are.
He's still got it looks like it's still muted.
No, his camera's disabled. His mic is not.
I can turn my camera on, that's fine. Oh, there we go. Does that work?
Mr. Hodson, can you test your mic?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay, in the meantime, while we're,
well, as you said, this is a resolution.
right, it's not a.
Right.
I'd like to touch on what Mr. Cole was talking about. So if we designate X amount, could we do that tonight? Or is that something?
We haven't
that-
done the road designation yet, though.
But I think to Bob's point, we don't have to designate, we can just designate X amount
To the south,
to the south.
which we,
Just say,
and not worry about what's in the north.
It doesn't work that way. We gotta
Oh.
classify the road because our code states what the right of way is required for each road classification.
We'll try the TVs. Make sure the volume's up. That's on 78.
Could you try again, Mr. Hobson?
Hello?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah, now we can.
Oh, good, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Hodgson, LSC Transportation Consultants, traffic engineer for the developer. So I just brought up the El Paso County. The El Paso County, the way they do their classifications, they have two sets of maps. They have one that's called the like the 20-year plan, and then they have what they call the corridor preservation plan. And what the for Higbee Road, the both of those show Higbee as a 2-lane road down the future. So in the short term, or at least through 2040, and I'm speaking from the 2016 county transportation plan, it showed Higbee Road as a 2-lane collector, between Jackson Creek and Furrow Road. So, and then in the preservation plan, which is like 2060, it basically shows it as a 2-lane minor arterial. So my understanding is that typically the way they do things is dedication is if it's shown as a particular classification on the 2040 plan, then that's what usually required as dedication. If it's a corridor preservation, then some sort of not owned, perhaps it's an easement, or it's it's something that's set aside without buildings that need to be removed, things like that. It's providing like a reservation of land that could be used if ever needed down the road it's core to preservation in case it's not necessarily dedicated, but it's preserved in case it's ever needed for a little bit larger road. So that's what the county plan had shown. You know, I know that the county's minor arterial right of way is 100 feet, and that's, you know, both for rural and for urban condition. The urban condition has 4 lanes, and the rural condition has 2 lanes. And paved shoulders, it's meant for a wider road with higher speeds, and the urban condition has the additional laneage, you know, without the need for shoulders. So that's just a little sort of background that I see, at least from the way Higbee was classified in the county. So there's some considerations here. It's how many lanes do you need, 2 or 4, and you know, whether it's needed within, say, 20 years or out to, you know, 2060 or, you know, something further out, in which case a preservation may suffice. If you're not, you know, if it's just, you know, one of those just in case sort of things, if you need to acquire the land down the road to widen the road for unforeseen circumstances, or just, you know, just to make sure that you're going to have enough in the long term. So I would just offer those, just that little bit of information that I pulled up on the county's plan. So
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for that. I don't think we're trying to design this road. We're just trying to establish right of way that we need for future use. And everybody here is a little sensitive to that, since we're having issues with some of the roads around town right now. So we have to establish that. I mean, the 2040 plan, or whatever they call it, they're calling it a minor arterial. Some people want this classified as a collector. I don't really have a dog in the fight as far as the road classifications, but what I would say is everything needs to be in the town, needs to be owned by the town, and the setbacks. If this is classified when it came into the town as an arterial, the setback should remain as it was an arterial, even if we downgrade that classification.
Okay, I guess the question I have for staff, because we've not gone through this exercise before, who all's involved in road classification? I assume we would want to have Triview at the table.
Right.
And the county. And is there any other?
We'd have to hire an engineer.
We'd have to hire an engineer.
Yep.
What about, does the state need to be involved?
No.
Okay, and how long would it possibly take?
We did a request from one of our engineers. How long did they say that FHU, when we talked to FHU, how long did they tell us it would take to do a road classification? Yeah, I think they could get it done in a month, is what I recall.
Right, so what I would like to see us do is, I want this to go as expeditiously as possible for benefit of the developer. I don't want this to drag on. If it means that we need to have a bunch of meetings.
There is a cost to it also.
Jeff?
I have record here telling me that the FHU is actually doing this for the county right now. And they have, there's an email that we have in the planning department from Steve Murray indicating that they're looking to classify Higbee Road as a major collector. So that's a lower classification.
And that's 100-foot right away?
I'd have to look at the county's definition of major collector, but I don't know the answer to that question. I would have to reach out to FHU and understand what they're thinking that is on that very distinct classification you're asking.
Right,
I do not have
and staff work with Councilmember Kimple. Can you make yourself available for these conversations and report back to whatever you find to town manager, and he will inform all of us what's found out.
Someone to comment again. Go ahead, Mr. Hodson.
Yes, Jeff Hudson again. So the county's rural, if you're talking about rural major collector, it's 90 feet. And the county has a residential collector, which is 60 feet. And then they have a non-residential collector, that's about as major a collector as you have in the county. That's an 80-foot right-of-way, which is a three-lane road. It's got one lane each way with a center turn lane, and then it's got like 6-foot paved shoulders on the side. So it's like 52 feet wide, and that's a major non-residential collector, and that's sometimes used in mixed-use areas in the county. So 80 feet for that, and then 90 feet if it's a rural condition. So just those are the county's collector right-of-ways.
Well, the proposal right now is a 95-foot wide road cross section, so I don't see it going smaller than that since they're already designing that road.
Thank you for that additional information, Mr. Hodson. Appreciate it.
And I would also recommend, since Higbee is now annexed into our town, that we start looking at the Town of Monument Pavement Design and Construction Standard dated 2010, because it talks about a minor arterial. It talks about the major collector residential and commercial, and it talks about the requirements, the minimum length, width, if it needs 5-foot bike lane, walkway shall be put in. All that stuff's in there. And I would recommend that it be designated a minor arterial, which is on page 33, 4-lane, that gives a benefit of additional traffic and all the requirements there with 120-foot width road.
Okay, so, but this, we can't do this tonight.
No.
You're saying it will take a month, right?
Well, no, because I instructed staff to do this last month and sounds like they're almost done.
Okay, so then my recommendation is that we would continue this resolution to, I mean, if you think they're almost done, I'm thinking the middle February meeting.
Second meeting in
Second
February.
meeting in February.
Okay.
And at that point, but between now and then, whatever results are,
We can make a presentation.
Mr. Cole?
Because you're in this judicial role, we need to have this all in a public hearing. And so the suggestion
Which
to
part
have,
has to be in a public hearing?
well, anything that's going to go into the decision. So
Your direction to me.
your direction, the decision on the size of the road, where the road's going to go, all that has to be discussed and determined and beat around in a public
Yeah, but the
hearing.
engineer work is not going to be done in public.
That's right. But we don't want that information being pushed out in between meetings. We don't want decision makers
Okay.
being part of the discussions. We want decision makers to hear it in the continued public
Right,
hearing.
Okay,
And we want the information presented in a public hearing
understand.
to the
Understand.
entire council,
So
to the applicant, to the public, all it.
is it safe though to continue this to mid-February? Because we can get it on the agenda.
Yes.
We can get this on the agenda either the next meeting in January or the first meeting in February. That way it's in the public.
You're talking about the road.
Yes, and we would have to approve whatever findings there were in a quasi judicial open meeting.
Would it be an ordinance or a resolution for the?
It's ordinance because it's going to be a public hearing.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
For the road classification criteria.
So what I was contemplating is you're gonna bring this information back, you're gonna agree that this is the road standard you believe is necessary, and you're going to grant the application or deny the application based on that standard. Not not to establish this classification city, town-wide at this point.
Right.
If you want to do that, that is a completely separate ordinance
Oh, it's-
process than this
talking Higby.
application.
So would you, I'm not suggesting this, but I'm just trying to expedite this. I mean, it would be super easy to just call it 120 feet because they'll never get bigger than that. It'd probably be comfortable to go at 100 feet because that's the next layer down. But do you suggest that we wait until this is looked at and finished by planners and
FHU engineering.
and Jeff has got his hand raised over there?
Staff has more information to say that the study, whatever study that would be handled, would probably take at least 4 to 6 weeks to finish. And that's after a firm has been selected, which that hasn't occurred yet. I said that FHU is already doing one for the county, not for us.
Okay, so then this needs to, so 4 to 6 weeks, so after selection.
So are we talking just for Higbee then? Just for Higbee, okay. Okay.
Or I think what you're gonna, we establish what we want it to be width-wise, and we put it into a public hearing and set it to go along with this resolution. And for just Higbee, right? We don't need an engineer to tell us if we want 100 feet or 120 feet or whatever. But we could set all that ourselves, basically, in a public hearing.
Do we need to set the width in public hearing? Can we do it at the same time, or do we owe them, the applicant, time to reassess? So we do it in public session, we say X feet. And then the applicant has better information to then come back at the following meeting or with their adjustments.
So what I understanding you're wanting to do is expedite this application and agree to how this road should be built at this location, which is probably going to set it for other extensions of it, but we're not deciding that tonight.
No.
Okay, if that's fair, then you go forward with your consideration of this application on what you believe is necessary for this roadway width. And whether you want to give the applicant time to consider that, or you want to make that your decision, and that's your decision. That's up to you.
Would that be the same as your suggestion earlier of, having dedicated land and changing the lot, and they would come back with that presentation, or how would that work?
So those are kind of two different issues. One is the width of the road, and then the other is how the plat itself depicts the lot and the road. And right now, the plat depicts the lot and the road all as lot one, a single parcel. And what I'm suggesting is that I think it would be better to have lot one be the developable land and a separate parcel created by the plat be the road, which is the way I'm used to seeing most plats. The dedicated roadway is not within the developable lots.
I think
Then
that's
you're clear on your setbacks.
I think that's a great idea. Are you guys willing to modify that? Okay. Well, maybe you should take this information back.
Well,
Yeah,
in the interest of being this is a quasi judicial, shouldn't we, or
This is not a quasi.
no, I'm saying
But what would be?
that's what I'm asking is, if we decide that this portion of Higbee is going to be 100, does that need to be a quasi judicial
Well,
public hearing? Or can we,
You're deciding that as part of this application.
but don't we owe,
I think it needs to be more detailed from Jackson Creek through all of Higbee that is part of the town, not just this section. It needs to be, we need to set the standard for how wide Higbee is going to be for all of Higbee that is in the town. I don't want to do it piecemeal
No,
because we'll have to go through this multiple times every time they bring another development back.
but if we, in the interest of expediting only this portion, we say Higbee is X for this portion with the understanding that we're gonna make the rest of Higbee the same. That way, the developer and future applicants know what to expect for future. But for this applicant, we could say, okay, we think Higbee needs to be X. We're gonna make this portion of Higbee X. These two can say, yeah, that works, that doesn't work. Maybe we continue until the next meeting, let them kind of hash out lines and whatnot, and then they come back, or we can do it all tonight. I don't know. But what's in the realm of legal in this quasi judicial process?
So we don't want to, you don't want to sit here and negotiate, right? Your role is determining an application. But I think it's fair to say if council is headed to a 120-foot road or a 95-foot road or whatever, continue it and see what the public's response is, see what the applicant's response is. That's a fair way to go. But if you want to really, set road standards for Higbee, for other roads, and say, these are our classifications, this is how they get built, and these are the roads that fit under each classification, that's a whole different process. That's a legislative process.
That would be the end state, but right now.
We're not going to decide anything.
No, that's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor and council members. So just a couple comments, and then let me see if I can make this a little easier for you. So I, really appreciate, you all thinking over the horizon and how this area will build out. I think the landowner, Rob, has done a great job over many decades, developing out this land as it goes from less dense further east to a higher density as you get into the commercial corridor, and the road reflects that. And then, they've been working with TriView, Jim, and Kimley Horn, a national engineer, on designing this road, because TriView is going to build this road here in short order. And that's, part of, our purchase of the land and contribution toward that road and toward the Metro District is going to help build this road. And so there's been a lot of thought on that road design. So I think, giving some thought to Kimley Horn and their road design, if you all have specific needs and requirements on that road design, I think, 6 months ago was the time, but now's the time again.
But 6 months ago, we weren't made aware of this.
Yeah.
The council, this did not come before the council, so we had no say. So whatever these conversations were that showed up in the packet about conversations that TriView is having with the town or with the engineers, we're not privy to it.
Just okay to what staff's talking to.
And again, the road design that I'm reading here says it's 95 feet wide, so it's 95 is the minimum. And, it doesn't need extra right of way for future use, or is that adequate for the rest of the time that this is going to be built? And that's where we're struggling, because there's a lot of different road classifications going on.
Yep.
But I see that, I'm not trying to change the design. Whatever it is, it's, it's 95 feet and that's what it is. But again, is that adequate for everything or not? That's where we're at. And that's why we probably need a little bit of help on that, or we just wing it and then we end up with trouble like we have around in other places right now. Yeah, there's a lot of transportation issues going on in Monument right now. We're building faster than we can keep up, and we just need to plan well for the future so we don't have to come in later and eminent domain places and
No,
expand the
we
road.
can't do, yeah, that's already in the charter about what we can and cannot do as far as eminent domain goes. So
Sorry. And so, just as applicant, if I could request a continuance for a month to discuss this with the landowner, TriView, with staff. And then, in that period of time, we can, maybe we need to, we'll communicate through staff, maybe we'll need to request another continuance if we need to go through that, or maybe we'll have a solution to present within a month.
Sure, we just, we've got our code issues we got to follow too. And,
Understand.
we can't set precedents on this and then everybody's going to be asking for the same thing. So right now, the way that our code reads is that we need to have the right of way in the town limits.
So you're comfortable with the middle of February? Okay, I would make a motion to continue this till the middle February meeting or
hang on a
February.
second.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Foreman,
I just need clarification. Do you want town staff to have an engineer do a specification study on?
I think you first need to let us know how much it's going to cost.
I think the last time we talked to him was $10,000 to $20,000.
So it's in your purview.
do it for free.
Okay,
Yes,
Okay.
It is, but I just need direction from. the
yeah,
council.
so the direction is to have staff get the classification done as quickly as possible. And we will grant the continuation for 30 days. Hopefully we have an answer back that we can provide you, both Brett and you, what that classification equaled, right? What it looks like. And I don't think that we would get to, I don't think we're going to get to a vote in a month. I think you'll probably wind up needing another couple of weeks. If it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks and we get them in 4, that puts us right at the deadline. But so if you want to make a motion to continue this till the second meeting, which is what day? February 20th.
So you all think it's wise to spend 10 to 20 grand on this?
Well, I have a question about that. Is that's how much it costs per road or just to do ACES for Hickory?
Yes.
I don't think that's wise at all. I think doing post. I think that, continuing this for a month is wise, but we could come back probably to a conclusion without that, in my opinion. Like Mayor Pro Tem was saying, we could do 120 feet or 100 feet, modify it or modify it, as Mr. Cole said, without spending 10 to 20 grand and make this reasonable. That's just my thought.
So I'm leaning for Higbee, yes. But I believe to Ken's point, we probably want to do a road criteria.
But that's totally separate than what we're dealing with right here.
Yeah, agreed. So I think we give direction to the staff to say, what should Higbee, what should the width of Higbee?
Staff doesn't have the expertise. That's why they would have to hire an engineer.
That's right.
Okay, all right.
I mean, if they did, Mr. Foreman would have said, I've got an engineer in my back pocket. It's going to cost whatever his salary is.
Okay, all right.
Or I've already done it, and here's what he found out.
All right, well then let's give direction that we hire an engineer for Higbee.
I think given.
Let's do it right.
Look, given the amount, Brett, you got a lot of land there. We want to do you right and make sure that the traffic flows work right and make sure it's designated correctly. That corner, I don't know what's going in there, but I've got a feeling, right, south of the football field, it's going to generate traffic. We got to make sure Higbee's set up correctly.
And there's a high school there.
And there's a
roundabout there and.
Yeah. So, all right, so you got your direction. Councilmember Romanella, would you like to officially make the motion?
I'll make a motion to continue or to continue this until is it February 20th?
Yes.
February 20th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this resolution to February 20th. Ms. Erickson, whenever you're ready.
Tim King,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor LaKine.
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello.
Yes.
All right, that motion passed 7-0, and I appreciate the indulgence. We want to make sure that this works for everybody. I think we can figure out a way. Please, Mr. Foreman, please make sure that the applicant, Brett and CSI and TriView, they're in the loop.
They will be. When we talked to FSU, they were talking about working with Kimley Horn. That's part of it, and including TriView and everybody like that. And I just got an update. The quote that they gave us when I requested this was 13.5.
Okay. All right. All right. We are going to, we're moving on to, public comment. Individuals attending in person may raise their hand to indicate their desire to comment. Individuals attending via Teams may raise their hand digitally to comment via connected devices. Please lower your hand when finished with your comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Is there anybody left here that would like to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none. Anybody online that would like to make a public comment? Okay, thank you. Do we have any council member authorization items? Okay, council comments.
Yes. I'd like to do a shout out to our IT manager, director, whatever your title is. Will ponied up for the for Silver Key to do, yes, he did, to do some education, or Lord knows what we're going to call it, to a lot of the elder people in the community, and God bless them. Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
You can start with Councilmember Chronic. Just kidding.
I'll move out of the way.
Yo.
You're gonna throw something? Councilmember Romanello, you had something you wanted to bring up.
Well, yes, I would like to maybe put a discussion item up for next meeting, talk about possibly bringing to the public some modifications to the home rule charter for vote. And then I think you had
I had
a couple things as well. Yes.
All right. We have gone through a year since the new council has sat. We have board positions that we need to make sure that we've alerted the various groups if there's any modifications. PPRBD, PPACG, CML, Legislative, Fountain Creek Watershed, and the art sites. We've already established that Councilmember Fiorito is going to maintain his role on the art sites, and I believe Councilmember Romanello is going to maintain Fountain Creek Watershed.
Yes.
I am fine with maintaining PPACG, the CML, and Legislative as primary. And I think there's also a PPACG Silver Key group.
PPAAA.
Okay. And was that something we sent a letter in about you being?
I'm getting taller.
Councilmember Abbott, you want to maintain PPRBD? I mean, next meeting, I think would be sufficient by next meeting. Okay. Okay, yeah, if you decide between now and the next meeting, just email me and Mr. Foreman, and I don't know that there's anything we need to do if we're maintaining the positions with primaries and alternates. If you decide not to, then we will ask the council at the next meeting if anybody wants to pick it up. Okay, and that's all I have. Is there any other council comments?
Like to make two. Yep, we've have sat here through a year. And I know one of the things that was requested that wasn't accomplished that I would like to see done as soon as possible with your concurrence, Mayor and Pro Tem and the other council members, is we said that we wanted to establish a meeting and discuss things with the Planning Commission. So we're all on the same page, and we never did. And
We did meet with them once.
We met with them.
And I actually spoke to our head planning commissioner.
okay, I must have been on travel.
We were all sitting in this room together
Yeah.
in a
Right.
training session.
Yeah.
I was not.
Bob led it.
Yeah, Bob. even
Bob
was
and
here.
Sheila. It was
Yeah.
Bob and
Yeah.
Sheila.
I might have been online, but I wasn't. I was probably online though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, what we discussed,
Okay.
just so, because this is to your point, we would like to establish a quarterly meeting.
yeah,
We will figure out the cadence as far as what day of the week it is, but we would meet quarterly to go through processes and new codes and design standards and all those things.
well, what I was going to recommend is getting into good habits. And what I think is a good habit is in the month of January that we partake in meetings to go over what's projected for the year. We have an opportunity to review the comp plan because it's recommended that it should be reviewed annually. It hasn't been reviewed. I know that there's going to be rewritten, but getting into habits where it's established in the schedule already. The same thing after the election in November, because there's a bunch of seats open, that it's dedicated in January for council members, whoever's on the board, go through that training, the required training again, before they start making decisions, before the team starts making decisions. But it gets into that, I'll say, battle rhythm every year in January is that refresher. And I was going to say at least a semi-annual meeting with the planning commission so that like in January and June, because I think quarterly is a good idea, but it might be a little aggressive with everyone's schedule. Second, I'm glad to hear that, some of the price, the study for the classification of the roads in the town of Monument. However, I think hopefully the council will agree and give direction. There's a lot more roads, or there's many more roads that need to be classified or looked at because of the development and the change of the zoning and the build out. And then because we're also building a new road from Old Denver. So what is that going to be? So is there an opportunity to, after Higbee, which should be the priority, to look at Jackson Creek, to look at what Old Denver is going to now be classified as, that kind of thing. So we know ahead of time for the staff to know as well. So we don't have to go through what we just went through. I know it's going to cost some money, but I think it also needs to be done.
She's got a budget for it. Yep.
Thank you. Do you have anything? Okay.
And let me address that point because I want to ask Jeff a question. Can that be part of a comp plan? I mean, can we pay for it with the same money that we're using as part of the comp plan? Because you've done those before. Right. Right.
I don't know whether that's. I'd be hesitant to speak to a clear answer.
It's part of.
A recommendation, it wouldn't be.
Well, you can codify the recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
That's
think,
what-
I think
that's what
state
you would
statute
end up
has
doing.
I think state statute has a transportation element to the comp plans, if I remember correctly.
I think so. That's what I was getting to.
Right.
And to the point that Dola's paying 200,000, we are gonna have to pony up another 200,000. And so I think with our money, we could pay for some of the things that Councilman Kempel's requested.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's part of the statute.
That's what I thought too.
Okay. We have two executive sessions. Before we go into them, I will give everybody a 10-minute break if they're good with that. If they don't want to and they just want to go into it, that's fine too. Mr. Cole, can we do both of those executive sessions back to back? We have to go out of one, come into the other.
We can do them back to back.
Okay, and then we will,
Separate motions.
are we good to adjourn? Or is there we can't make a decision. We can't, yeah,
In the meeting or not?
the second one, I think we may need a decision. So we'll come out to make any decisions from the second one and then we'll adjourn. Okay, so,
You want to make a motion now to go into executive session after our 10-minute break?
yes,
Okay. I will make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024B CRS for a conference with the town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on a specific legal questions relating to planning director resignation. And you want to do this vote separately and then I'll do the next one, or you want to make it one motion?
Let's do two separate.
Okay,
motions.
that's my motion.
I second.
we have a motion and a second to go into the first executive session.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes,
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella.
Yes. And then we making the second motion now too?
Yes.
All right, I'll make, after that executive session, make a motion to go into a second executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024F CRS regarding personnel matters involving the town manager, who has been notified of the executive session, has consented to it, and 24-64024E CRS for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators related to the town manager's employment contract.
Second.
motion and a second.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind.
Yes,
If you're okay with this, we're gonna let Tina go home and Erica will fill in to take the vote.
Hi, Tina, thank you.
Yes, Tim, thanks. She looks like she's absolutely almost falling asleep.
Video record.
Okay, we have exited executive session. We are going to, is it a vote or a motion, Bob? All right, so that'll need to be recorded. I make a motion to give our town manager an 8% raise. That's 4% merit, 4% COLA.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
Romero Erickson.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Your nose and throat. I get it?
Aye.
Thanks.
All right, that motion passes 7-0. This meeting is adjourned.